Okay, now I'm recording. Islam. um,
Islam.
in the message, Islam. In the
Yo,
messenger
we,
chat, I know it was asked about the lineage. Okay, let me clear this up. For those who got the attachments, some of the documents, especially dealing with the lineage, that is only for a reference point. Okay, because of the people who are listed in that lineage are very key to what is going to be discussed. I know where, of course, we know who created, if you don't know who created that particular document, it was done by an individual named Ross Sadiet, okay, who used to be part of this particular grand body. And now he has his own demonstration, okay. He put together a lineage, which, you know, rightfully so. If he feels like he wants to put it together, that's fine. Whether it's right and exact, it is to a certain extent, and then to another extent, it is. You know what I'm saying? Because there's certain things that he placed on that lineage that can cause confusion. Hold on, let me pull it up. Let me pull it up for you, so y'all can just look at it. Go to my emails. Give me a minute. I'm gonna try to pull it up. Is this it? I got a plethora of emails here. I know it was coming. Simple as. There we go. This particular document, like I said, this was constructed by Rod Sadiel. Okay. I want everyone. Can everyone see this document? If you have the video, I know some of y'all are on by phone, but if you on the video, can y'all see this document? Islam?
Islam, I see it.
Okay. Let's jot down to the bottom. Let me explain this. This was done when Ras Adiel had more than one temple. Right now, Ras Adiel, I don't know, he got like maybe two temples or two groups under him, or two people running groups under him. Because a lot of people left recently, within the last five years. So I want y'all to look at something. The bottom, where you see Grand Sheik Brother Sharif Bey, that means that's Sharif Annual Bey. That's what they mean. Sheik Sister Z Elizabeth L, Grand Sheik Maki Shabazz L, Sheik Aleem L, number 3, Brother Malik L, Temple 5. Okay? explain this. These sheiks most are no longer with him. Okay, Brother Malik El was our former Supreme Grand Governor. Okay, he left in 2014. No, hold on, 2015 he left. Okay, Devon, he left in 2015. February 2015 he left. Grandma. Okay, so he's basically not affiliated with anyone. Grand Governor Wali Abdul Naim Bey. These are all people. If you go a little bit above, these are all people who are under Rashad, who basically were under him at one time. Okay, but they all, I could say, Wali Abdul Naim Bey, of course Rashadi. These Moors were actually under Bailey Ill at one time, or under the Grand Body when P. Davis Ill was in the flesh. Okay, so I'm just trying to explain it so you'll know that this is it is his. Okay. Also, if you go up and you see where it says those out of the original Temple One, okay, when you see that, you see in the middle Walton L. Okay. Problem. The issue is this: the way this is set up, one can look at this and be under the idea that all five of these people, from Shelby Hill, Morgan Hill, Walton Hill, T.H. Rose Bay, and Prophet Muhammad, all left Temple One. That's false. If I were to put this together, Walton Hill would be at top because he never left original Temple One. He remained Grand Sheik and Chairman of Temple One. Shelby Hill, Morgan Hill, T.H. Rose Bay, Prophet Muhammad, or the person whoever calls himself Prophet Muhammad, they all left Temple One. Islam, that's the actual fact. So if you ever look at that, look at this. It has a breakdown of all. It has all the temples at top that were functioning at the time, and then it goes into the break. Okay. So I just wanted to share this to clear that up. Any questions for anyone who see this?
Islam.
Okay. Question?
This is Nathaniel McCoy Bey.
Islam.
I rise giving praise to Allah, and I give high honors to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali.
Mm-hmm.
I have the list of the Supreme Grand Sheik line, but I don't have it on me.
Oh, I know it.
Yeah, but Shelby L, Morgan L, Rose Bay, they wasn't in the Supreme Grand Sheik line, right?
No, they weren't.
Oh, okay.
These are Moors who broke away.
Oh, they never was Supreme Grand Sheik.
No, they were just sheiks that broke away.
But Walton L was a Supreme Grand Sheik, right?
Well, let me clear up the Supreme Grand Sheik, okay?
All right,
Let me clear that up. Islam. The first appointed Supreme Grand Sheik was Edward Miliel, or E. Miliel, okay? When he fell sick, the duty fell upon William Moorish. Islam. He became the next Supreme Grand Sheik. Okay? when he left, William Morris L. left the Grand Body, went over to Kirkman Bay. That particular position or title, that title became inactive or dormant, as you would say. And the reason why is this. Follow what I'm saying. In order to have a Supreme Grand Sheik, you need a Supreme Grand Council. Islam? There was no active Supreme Grand Sheik, no active Supreme Grand Council after William Morris L. left the Grand Body. Islam? The temple in itself ceased to exist at the time. Okay? Islam? So what happened was Walton L began to, or made the efforts to reorganize Temple One, because that was the main temple at the time that needed to be organized. Calling a meeting, bringing people together. I had the minutes for that. So what happened was they began to only function as, he only was able to function as the Grand Sheik Chairman because they didn't have a national presence at the time. They only had one temple. All the temples left, they went their own separate way. So in that being said, J. Walton L., Harlem Bay, and O. Lewis L., Bailey L., all had the title chairman or Grand Sheik chairman. Islam. So moving forward, when P. Davis L. came in the picture, they began to get more of a momentum and more temples into place. So what happened was they began to resurrect or reenact what you call, or reinstate the Supreme Grand Council. So therefore, P. Davis L. took on the position as Supreme Grand Sheik. Right? And Bailey L. assumed the position Supreme Grand Governor. He didn't want to be the head. He was retired. He was retired from the post office. You know, he held the doors open long enough. He just wanted to just help make sheets and for the movement. He didn't really want to govern like that. So, yeah. So Shelby Hill and the rest of them that are listed, they weren't in the line. Those are just guys who broke off in something. Okay. Jay Walton L. didn't break off the tip. He was actually in the line. Islam?
Islam. Can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So P. Davis L. and Braswell Bay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rasadi L. and them, they all discovered David Bailey L. They came from somewhere else. I can't remember right now, but I think they was with All Love L or something like that. I'm not for sure right now. I got it in my notes and stuff. But then they came to David Bailey when they discovered him, and found out what he had, you know, and that he was Eliel's grandson. So I was told that they had made David Belial the Supreme Grand Sheik first, and then after him, he made P. Davis L the Supreme Grand Sheik after him. This is what I was well basically told, and when I was with Braswell Bay, and that was like the line where they made David Belial the Supreme Grand Sheik. Then after him came P. Davis L, and then after him came Braswell Bay.
Islam, what?
Go ahead, Mo. You chime in. Go ahead. This is everybody. This is Brother Alton Smith Bey, Sister Grand Sheik of Temple One out of Chicago. He's basically a guest sheik on the line tonight. Go ahead, demonstrate.
Islam. First, I want to rise and give all praise to Allah, the great God of the universe. I give honor to all the true and divine prophets, namely Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius, and to the most illustrious prophet of these days and times, the Holy Prophet, Noble Jew Ali, Islam. Yes, sir. Gratitude, Moab. I just wanted to interject on the brother McCoy Bey's demonstration, and that's a blessing. Mo Man said he was with Braswell Bey, and just to add on, Sheik, if you had already been demonstrating on that same lineage chart for clarity, where you were reading from, where it says the Moorish Divine National Movement of North America, and exposition of it, Mo, but where it says those out of original Temple One, and it starts with Shelby Ill, and then it goes to Morgan Ill. So I just wanted, when the Moor said he didn't know where they came from, that's where P. Davis Ill and Braswell Bey came from. Shelby Ill was the Grand Governor at the time when Emil Ill was the Supreme Grand Sheik. Islam, when he was appointed, Shelby Ill was the Grand Governor at the time. So when the Prophet changed form and they started having issues after the second annual convention, Shelby Ill had filed documents to take over the leadership. So when you see on that chart where it says those out of original Temple number one, and then it has Shelby Ill, new Temple number one, then it has Morgan Ill, and if you notice that address, 957 East 75th Street, that's where Braswell Bey and P. Davis Ill came from. Now, whether they were with the ink demonstration prior to that, I'm not aware, but that's where they came from, the 957 East 75th. And so you have Walton Ill as well, and as the Sheik demonstrated, Walton Ill did his best in reorganizing Temple number one, Islam. But I just want to just interject on what he said Braswell Bey made. He was told by Braswell Bey that they made D. Bailey Ill the Supreme Grand Sheik. No, sir. He was that lineage had already been going on, but as the Sheik demonstrated, when that Supreme Grand Council got split up, Islam, and we'll cover that. But when that Supreme Grand Council got broke, the Prophet's original Supreme Grand Council, when Claude Green, Lomax Bey, and Sister Pearl Drew Ali and certain members were ousted, like said Small Bey, he had to insert Aaron Payne Ill. He put Sister Mary Drew Ali in there, Islam. But like the Mo said, after Millie Ill changed form, that pretty much, there wasn't, the Supreme Grand Council was kind of non-existent, Islam. So that's why Moors were free to do, Millie Ill did his best in trying to keep it together. But I just wanted to bring that up for clarity. The 957 East 75th Street Temple is where Braswell Bey and P. Davis Ill came from. D. Bailey Ill was the Supreme Grand Sheik prior to that. Islam? I yield the floor.
Right. Islam. Basically, praise Allah for the clarity. So I was told, for the most part, that it was a retirement on behalf of Bailey. It was retirement on behalf of Bailey Ill to sit down, and he basically assumed the position as Supreme Grand Governor. He was not, and just to add clarity, that title Supreme Grand Sheik really did not get reinstated until P. Davis Ill, Braswell Bey came and therefore growth started to come into the movement, and they began to really press that Supreme Grand Council demonstration. There's a video. If you look at some of the old video, when they had their little talk show or discussion show I think that was Chicago University. I forgot what university that was in Chicago. They had I think Brazos Bay had the link, had the hookup to it. Actually, you can get the videos if you call Kwame and you ask Kwame for a copy of those videos. I think he has all the videos of the demonstrations. Those are demonstrations that they had on TV. And one of the TVs was the 7 Hours of Allah, talking about the Supreme Grand Council and in the Supreme Grand Sheik. So they were bringing that back into the fold of discussion. Because before, no one ever heard of Supreme Grand Sheik. No one ever used that title, really, in the other groups or other bodies and so forth. And it was really no discussion. It's like, I could just share that even when I came into the Grand Body, I used that kind of as a measuring stick. And I would call that out, if anyone would, ask or question or even assumed anything, I would just say, well, who's your Supreme Grand Sheik? Who's on your Supreme Grand Council? Then they ask questions, what are you talking about, Mo? I'll be like, well, the Prophet had a Supreme Grand Sheik, and he appointed the Supreme Grand Council. He's sitting on it right now. You know what I'm saying? Because in that would kind of like draw the line in the sand, and kind of like, blow the smoke away from all the confusion. Any other questions? Mo? Anybody else?
Islam, Sheik.
Yes, sir. Islam, good.
Yes, sir. I just add on to what you demonstrated. Also, oftentimes too, with that focus of the title of Supreme Grand Sheik Islam, we have to bear in mind the actual structure of the temple.
Yes, sir.
As been stated, Emily Il was the first and only duly appointed Supreme Grand Sheik by the Prophet himself. Islam. So, and when the Prophet installed the original Supreme Grand Council, the whole conspiracy and the fracturing of the temple took place when, again, Claude Green in Chicago, out of Temple Number 1, and Lomax Bey conspired to overthrow the Prophet, Islam. So that coup was being led by Temple Number 1 and Temple Number 4 in Detroit. So when Islam, we know what happened to Claude Green, Islam, when Lomax Bey fled the country. Again, they were removed. Not only in a literal sense, like I said, Claude Green was removed. Lomax Bey left the country. So again, we got to remember that their seats on the council were replaced. So there was a second installment of members, Islam. But after when Merely Ill changed, now 1,000 parts, after the second annual convention, this is when everybody went their own separate ways. Sheikh John Givensville took a certain portion of the membership. He was out of Temple Number 1. Kirkman Bey was being put up by the other conspiratorial temples that the brothers, honor to the brothers that put together the Mukarban file. The Eddington Ill, is it Barnes Bey? Brother Edward Ill, the work that those Moors did. Islam, yes, sir, because they noted those temples that conspired and tried to consolidate power. So Temple 1 got fractured and split up because Kirkman Bey was a member of Temple 1, Shelby Ill was a member of Temple 1, Walton Ill was a member of Temple 1, Givens Ill was a member of Temple 1. So Temple 1, and we got to remember, home office, the structure of the temple. If the head ain't right, the body gonna fall. Islam, you cut off the head, the body gonna fall. So you got to remember, Temple Number 1, even though they're all subordinate temples in the structure, in the grand scheme of things, the Grand Major Temple only exists when all the temples are in convention, but Temple 1 is home office, and all charters for other subordinate temples originate out of Cook County, Islam. So I just wanted a moment of clarity that we have to remember when we put too much emphasis on the title of Supreme Grand Sheik. And this is why all this confusion came about, because you cannot discount the other Grand Sheiks, the other Grand Governors that the Prophet had installed in the various temples throughout the country. Islam, because that comprised the grand body. Even though the Supreme Grand Council had been disrupted, the grand body still existed. Islam. So, Miliel did his best to try to keep everybody in the fold, but certain temples did exactly what the prophet said we wasn't supposed to do. No favorites in the temples. None of that. They started practicing that segregation. Islam. So that's the issue that we got to remember, why we got to try to get everybody back into the fold. So putting the emphasis on the Supreme Grand Sheik, it kind of causes confusion because you leave out the rest of the Grand Sheiks who were appointed by the Prophet. Islam, I just want to add that in. We got to bear that in mind. I yield the floor.
Islam, 1,000 pardons on my part of that. Definitely, it's definitely important when you look at the history. You got to consider all sheiks that have been appointed by the Prophet. In that sense, they all bear a portion of authority within their own right. Remember when we filed the affidavit, each sheik is a trustee, so a portion of authority is with the sheik as well. You definitely sometimes we put and I know for myself, I put a lot of emphasis on Supreme Court sheik, but then we get confused. This is where the confusion comes, because what happens more is that when you don't see that title, and then you get weary on what's going on, and you get weary of the history. So you don't see the title on someone's name. You're like, well, who is this person? You know what I'm saying? Remember, even the Supreme Grand Sheik only becomes active when there's a Supreme Grand Council. That doesn't take away from the power of the Grand Sheik. We say, so you still have a Grand Sheik that's over the movement. And therefore that was basically immediate. But at the same time, there was other Grand Sheiks as well who were, over their local temples as well. You know what I'm saying? But so, needless to say, needless to say, thank you, Brother A. Smith. I appreciate that. Any other questions? I'm trying to share this too. I don't know, Brother Smith, that you saw. Share this real quick.
Islam, I'm here, boy.
It's long.
Islam, keep kicking me out when I do the screen share. I really wanted you to see, but I'll forward it to you. I got the ledger from everybody who was in Temple One at the time, with Emilia and Curtin Bey was in it. Got Curtin Bey's name in it. And he got Boris Hill, as Jay Walton Hill, John Givers was in it. You can see it. So, and it's funny because their addresses were different at that time. Or their phone numbers was different. I think it was like you know how our phone numbers look, we got like a 10. We got like a 10-digit number. I got an area code, 7 digits after. But in the time of the Prophet, back then it was like a section. You had like a letter section or something like that, and then a couple numbers after that. You would dial that. You would go to that section, and I guess it will, connect you to that area, and the specific number will ring that residence. I don't know. You'll see when I get a chance to share with you. Any other questions? But Smith Bey, you still there?
Islam, yes, sir.
When speaking of those who broke off, we're talking about. I think where I want to try to go with this is connecting it specifically to particular demonstrations we see now today. Okay. So when we look at brother, C. Kirkman Bey, everyone probably here understands that C. Kirkman Bey, who are the those who represent C. Kirkman Bey portion now today. We know brother R. Jones Bey and so forth and so on, those particular Moors that might be under him. Islam?
Yes, sir.
Being that particularly we had Johnny Givensville, we can talk about, okay, well, we know we got Shelby Hill. Let me back up because I don't want to. Let's start with Jay Walton Hill, okay? Because we know that Emilio passed away. Let me clarify to everyone. Emilio passed on, okay, at the time, okay? It kind of was a simultaneous action. The brother had passed away, but prior to that, or around that time, Brother Moorish L done left the grand body. Am I right?
Islam.
He left. He went over to Kirkman Bey. Okay. There was a dead point at the time of the movement, or what we would say the original push. Okay. And then came in play Jay Walton L. And then we had the minutes of him trying to reunite everybody together. Now, at that era of time, more. What can we say about the brother Jay Walton Hill when we came? You said where you look at the thing, the document I just showed earlier with the lineage. We talk about Shelby Hill and so forth and so on. You elaborate on brother Shelby Hill and also the court case. I know we don't have the actual document with us, but what took place with that?
Islam.
Yeah, Islam.
Islam, yes, sir. And just add on to that, Sheik, I was just demonstrating with the brother Grand Sheik Bratton Bey out of Temple 13 in Baltimore yesterday, and we were discussing that case. And so we're, for clarity, matter of fact, I want to grab the document and what Shelby Hill stated that was just so key, Islam, in that document towards, if bear with me, because it's kind of it's real faint, but I just want to read this for the members if they haven't already took the time to read it, because I'm quite sure you shared it with them. It states, let me see, it's on page. This is like the third page of the document that Shelby Hill filed, and listen to what he says. It's so key. He says, sisters and brothers, sheiks and sheikas, this is our. That's not what I'm trying to say. Our point here tonight. We should like for each and everyone to pay strict attention to this meeting. He says, just as the great American Union, the great American nation of English-speaking people sprang from a desire of the early colonists to have peace, freedom, and justice for themselves, so came into the beginning the great Moorish Science Temple of America. Just as the strength and Islam.
Walton Hill. That was Walton Hill's document. Yeah.
Walton Hill's document. Okay, who we demonstrate? Shelby Hill?
Well, both. Talk about that. That's definitely important, man.
Islam, yes, sir. Because I just want to get to the point why he sent Shelby Hill, registered mail just like he did everybody else. Islam.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and I'm trying to be as brief as possible. Read this paragraph, and yes, sir. So he said, just as the strength and greatness of this country depends upon the union of the states under one law, so does the continuance and greatness of the Moorish Temple of America depend upon the perfect union of its many temples under the law of our prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Without this perfect union of the United States under one law, such a union will be destroyed. Americans learned this lesson from the bloody Civil War. It is even more so with the Moorish Temple of America. Since the passing of our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, there are those who have sprung up overnight, like the bay tree, and have flourished for a short time. There have been those who claim to ascend the true, claim to succeed the true prophet, and have tried to gather about themselves the robe that was his. Our people have fallen into disrepute. Our membership scattered and discouraged. Our people stumbling and blundering in darkness of confusion. Understand clearly, listen carefully. We who have called you here to assemble have called you not seeking greatness, nor to assume control for ourselves. We have called you for one purpose, to reestablish and reaffirm the teaching of our departed prophet, Noble Drew Ali. We have called you under his law to stop confusion. We have called you to unite in peace. We have asked you all to come together to choose from one of your sheiks, the Grand Sheik for Temple Number 1. Each of those who have been trying in his or her way to uphold our prophet's laws have been asked to come together and reestablish Temple Number 1 under the Constitution and additional laws of the Moorish Temple of America and the laws of the state of Illinois. There can be but one Temple Number 1. We intend that there shall be but one. There have been no meetings with the other temples in general conclave from year to year. He's referring to convention. This must likewise be done. Each of you who are present tonight, remember the greatness that was once yours. You remember when thousands came to our meetings. You recall how fallen humanity was elevated. You know that we are taught to work and live so that peace, truth, freedom, love, peace, freedom, justice might come to this troubled world. We have not done this. We have been at odds with each other. I'm going to stop this because it's going to get real bad. It says, and not at peace. Islam. So I'm going to stop right there just to give a gist of what the Moor was demonstrating. And ultimately, the membership of Temple Number 1, and see, this was so critical. Temple Number 1, again, being still one subordinate temple, but its home office. Islam, that's the key. So if Temple Number 1 was in disarray, all the other temples, they may have continued their missionary work, Islam, but he said we haven't been meeting in general conclave, having the conventions not only since the passing of the prophet, after that second annual convention. Now, those of us who, had the privilege and honor of demonstrating with the elder D.B.L.E.L., because his family were a portion of Temple Number 1, he had that history passed down to him from his mother, grandmother, uncles, aunts, Islam, father. So nevertheless, the membership had dwindled down to such a degree with Temple Number 1 that, as the Mo said, he said thousands used to come to the meetings. But when they split, and let me just jump to that real quick. So once he was elected as the Grand Sheik, and let me see who was, okay, now he's elected Grand Sheik of Temple Number 1, right, Walton Eel, and then it was, let's see, brother Kimbron Eel. He was the chairman. Islam, yes. So, yeah, okay, and then I'm going to end it with this. So at the end, he says right here, he said that it was moved by Brother J. Walton Eel and duly seconded by Sister, Sister Webster Eel, that the election be closed. The motion was unanimously voted upon to close the meeting, which concluded the business for the night. Then it says, note, notice of this meeting was served by registered mail upon brother, and here it has Kirkman Eel. We know we're talking about Kirkman Bey, but it says Brother Kirkman Eel, Brother Shelby Eel, Sister Millie Eel, Brother Givens Eel, and other sheiks who formerly were enrolled as sheiks and members of Temple Number 1 of the Moorish Temple of America, so that they might be present and participate if they so desired. Islam. So now this is critical, because at that time, Shelby Eel, he was the Grand Governor. So Shelby Eel filed documents that are filed in a Cook County Recorder Deeds office that he was trying to do a reorganization of the temple. And this is after Walton Hill, when they had to do this. But what's key is the Moor did his best, and those members who were trying to keep Temple Number 1 in order, in Thousand Parts, I didn't read the part, but it said it was actually 21 members were actually there. It was 21 members voting Islam. So he sent it registered mail to Kirkman Bey, which they have Kirkman Hill, Shelby Hill, Sister Millie Hill, and Brother Givens Hill. And then he said other sheiks who were formerly enrolled as sheiks and members Islam. So when we look at the efforts of Walton Hill, Millie Hill changed his form in 1934. And this is what's key about the understanding what happened with the confusion with Kirkman Bey, and which still persists to this day. After all is said and done, and like I said, we still want to give honor to those Moors who keeping the Prophet's message alive. But Temple Number 9 is just that. They are a subordinate temple. They were a subordinate temple. So that's the temple that kind of led the conspiracy to overthrow Millie Hill. And every time one of those Moors pulled Millie Hill into court, he didn't take them to court. They took him to court. And because the Prophet said it'll take you 50 years to figure out what I've done, they didn't understand the power of that affidavit. So Millie Hill being the second name behind Prophet Noble Drew Ali's on the affidavit, he was the rightful successor. And that's why the Prophet appointed him Supreme Grand Sheik. Notwithstanding that there were other Islam of the subordinate temples, the Grand Sheiks. But the key is we focusing on what happened with Temple Number 1. So Kirkman Bey leaves Temple Number 1 and the other temples, and in the Muqarrabin, I want to jump to this real quick, Mo, because this got everything to do with it. In the Muqarrabin, the one that you can actually, I guess, download from Scribe if you don't already have a copy of it, on page 50, the brothers Eddington and them that put it together, they have in here that the members of the supporting temples that tried to consolidate power over Millie Hill, it was Temple Number 3. Temple Number 3 was Milwaukee. Temple Number 4, that was Detroit. Temple Number 7, if I'm not mistaken, Temple Number 7 was under Childs Bay in Cleveland, Ohio. Temple Number 9, that was the northwest side of Chicago. So that was the one that led the conspiracy against Temple Number 1 here in Chicago, was the other subordinate Temple Number 9. Then you had Temple Number 15 and 18. Temple 15 was the original temple that the Prophet established in Lansing, Michigan. And Temple 18 was East Toledo, Ohio. So we have that they have documented 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 temples that tried to consolidate power over Millie Hill. And so when they lost, those temples still went under the leadership of Kirkman Bey. But as long as Millie Hill was in the flesh, they knew that they couldn't do anything. This is why the Moorish Temple of America, Inc., when Kirkman Bey came with his rules and regulations, they couldn't do it until Millie Hill changed form. And on the document, Sheik Saliki, I know I shared it with you, but if you notice on that document that the Cook County Court of Deeds has, they executed what they were going to do. The documents, they prepared their documents in 34, but Millie Hill then changed form to November, if I'm not mistaken, November of 1934. So they didn't actually file the documents until 1935. Thus, when they did that, this is when Walton Hill, when he was appointed as the Grand Sheik of Temple Number 1, this is why he took Kirkman, not just Kirkman Bey. He didn't have to take Kirkman Bey to court. Islam, if he did, I haven't seen any documentary proof of it. But what he did, he took the 2 temples that Kirkman Bey, once he came out in 1934, 35, they established 2 temples in New York, Temple 23 and Temple 34. And that's what F. Turner Hill and his father, E. Turner Hill, had established. Now, mind you, these were Moors who were with the original Grand Body, Islam. But under Kirkman Bey's leadership, he went and had them set up 2 temples in New York. The Prophet had never established temples in New York. This is why Walton Hill sued them in federal court in Brooklyn. And so this is the case that I don't know if a lot of members have seen, but the only significance that came out of it was when Walton Hill sued, and I got the document right here. I want to read if I can. Give me 1 second. I got the document right here in the folder. And where it's all going. it's going, you know, kind of, you'll see what kind of happened. The all this confusion. Here we go. Let's see. I wasn't looking for it to be right in my face. Okay, here it is right here. This time. All right. So it says, and this was published December 20th, 1938. This from New York Times. It says Brooklyn movement accused by rival group in Chicago, and it says a complaint signed by J. Walton Eel, described as Grand Sheik of the Moorish Temple of America in Chicago, was filed yesterday in Brooklyn Federal Court to enjoin the Moorish Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America, Inc., of 44 Jefferson Avenue, Brooklyn, from continuing to use its title on the grounds of unfair competition by deceit. The complaint asserted that the Moorish Temple of America has hundreds of thousands of members belonging to temples in Illinois, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Michigan, Ohio, Tennessee, Indiana, Georgia, Virginia, and West Virginia, and that the defendant began using the title in 1935, adding the words the Divine and National Movement of North America, Inc., only since October 5th, 1938. Mr. L. also asked for an assessment of damages on the grounds that the Chicago organization spent large sums of money in advertising its name and is held in high esteem and religious fervor. Now, this is from the New York Times, but Grand Sheik Bey actually has a copy of the case, and he sent it to one of the other Moors, Brother Lawson up in Detroit. So I don't have a copy, but me and the Moor, he read it to me, Islam. And what ended up happening, the Europeans knew by us being a religious corporation, they couldn't adjudicate over our affairs. That's why the Prophet said, don't take your affairs to the European. Because once you put it in their venue, you kind of force them to, you know, make a ruling, Islam. And so it wasn't about a win or a loss. It was more so because they had done everything in accordance with establishing themselves in New York, Islam. The judge basically was like, okay, you know, we don't see nothing wrong here. Basically, that was the outcome of the case. But then he said, oh, it just seemed like it's about money and all this and that. But nevertheless, what's key is these dates. See, he said that they started using the name in 1935. But then he says, adding the words, the Divine and National Movement of North America, Inc., only since October 5th, 1938. So what happened, just to get some background clarity on what happened, F. Turner Eel and E. Turner Eel, when they realized what Kirkman Bey was up to and what he had done, he basically, F. Turner Eel separated himself. And so he went and he fused the two, the Moorish Divine and National Movement and the Moorish Science Temple. Because he knew no one could use the corporate name, the Moorish Science Temple of America. That was the whole issue why Merely Eel was beating everybody that took him to court. He was the second name on the affidavit. Prophet changed form, he's the successor. Islam. So no one could use the corporate name Moorish Science Temple of America. So when Kirkman Bey came out and those temples that conspired to put him over Merely Eel, they know that they couldn't do anything in the name of the temple. So when they did come out, they had to come out as the Moorish Science Temple of America, Inc. And people don't think that that's significant, but it's very significant because you have to look up corporate name and what it means in law. They can't use the name Moorish Science Temple of America. They can use any other name, Islam. And so this is what F. Turner Eel ultimately did when Walton Eel said that it was unfair, or the grounds of his suit was unfair competition by they were deceiving people, Islam. So thus, Grand Sheik Bey to this day, and the Dingo L brothers, Richardson primarily, Grand Sheik Richardson, Dingo L prior to him, they were operating under F. Turner Eel, who his charter originates out of Connecticut. His charter does not originate out of Illinois, Islam, but the charter still looks exactly the same. The 10 houses on there, everything, but the key words that are different in that charter, they speak about a charter of warrant and dispensation, whereas we know on the original charters, it says charter or warrant of authority. Because Islam, warrant of authority is for the smaller branch temples and missions. The charter is actually for subordinate temples. Islam. So I just wanted to give some background on that. So Walton Eel was doing his best efforts, as Merely Eel did before him, and trying to keep the movement together. But at the same time, he felt it necessary to have to go after the the temples that conspired against merely ill Islam, and they were unsuccessful because at the end of the day, they weren't using the corporate name of Moorish Science Temple of America, and that was one of the issues why there wasn't a win, because he said they were using Moorish Science Temple of America, but they switched it up. So Kirkman Bey is operating under Moorish Science Temple of America Inc., and F. Turner Eel subsequently started operating under the title of Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America Inc. Islam. So just want to add that in for clarity. But all of the temples, Shelby Eel and everyone else on that chart, see, they were still operating under the name Moorish Science Temple of America. But then if you notice, a lot of them start putting ink on the back of it, but they still may not have been affiliated with Kirkman Bey, Islam, because no one could use that corporate name of Moorish Science Temple of America. Thus, D. Bailey Eel, when he did resurface in the 80s, the membership of Temple Number One primarily was basically his family and, few other Moors. Because as you see, when Walter Neal said they only had 21 members, and they had been so scattered. And John Givens Eel had took a large portion of that as well, because a lot of temples consolidated under him as well, under the reincarnated, what they refer to as the reincarnated temples, Islam. So Chicago has been fragmented and fractured ever since the passing of the prophet, and especially under Merely Eel. But Walton Eel did his best efforts, Islam, and trying and structurally keeping Temple Number One together. But this is where all of these different factions of the temple got even further splintered. But the key thing to remember is the corporate name of the Moorish Science Temple of America. You have to have your lineage tied back to that original grand body, especially, before Merely Eel changed form. Islam, I just want to add that on, and yield the floor. If anything else for clarity, Mo, just let me know. Yes, sir.
Islam, Mo, you said warrant a dispensation. Well, I don't do it. Put that word up. Could you clarify that? The difference between
go ahead.
I was saying, could you clarify the difference between warrant authority and a warrant of dispensation? Am I messing that word up now? Sorry. Dispensation. I'm sorry.
Islam. Yeah. Dispensation as a term, it just means that, like I said, that because once F. Turner Eel incorporated in Connecticut, by virtue of him incorporating in Connecticut and trying to establish himself as a religious organization, a charter or warrant of dispensation means that they could establish various subordinate temples. Islam, that, like I said, dispense. Islam, I'm trying to grab it right now in my dictionary. Hold on, give me 1 second. Dispensation. Islam. Yeah, well, this is just coming out of Black's Law. Dispensation, an exemption from some laws, a permission to do something forbidden, an allowance to omit something commanded, the canonistic name for a license. So in essence, this is what his charter say, as opposed to a charter or warrant of authority on the original ones. His say this charter or warrant of dispensation. Islam. So basically, as a religious organization, they can function. This is basically their permission by way of the state of Connecticut. You follow what I'm saying? And that's a difference as opposed to the wording on the prophet's charter. You follow?
Islam. And the key
word, a warrant of authority. Authority is something different than permission. Islam.
Yeah, because it says license in that definition.
There you go. Islam. That's the key difference, Mo. And again, this is why the prophet didn't go to no other state, because the Religious Corporation Act, because the state of Illinois was like the only one to adopt it, based upon the case was Watson versus Jones, trial of society, Islam, and it stemmed from a dispute that the Presbyterian Church had. And this what was the precedence for the establishment of the Religious Corporation Act of 1872. But what we know, That's our First Amendment right, Islam, as true American citizens. So a lot of Moors get it twisted and think that the temple was founded just upon the Religious Corporation Act, when in essence you got to go to the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. Islam, freedom of religion, where Congress will have no, right in the establishment of, preferring one religion over another. Islam, I'm not giving it verbatim, but just paraphrasing it. But our freedom of religion goes back to the free national constitution that the Prophet always referenced, not just the Religious Corporation Act, because it was a case that was the precedent for that case. And the Supreme Court decision, in essence, basically said that no secular court had any jurisdiction in any religious society's affairs, any ecclesiastical society affairs. The only issues that they could adjudicate on when it dealt with real property, Islam. So that's the clarification that we got to understand. Yes, that the Religious Corporation Act was born in 1872, but there was a precedence for setting it. But we base our religious freedom going back to the free national constitution, Islam, as related to the said government. Islam.
Islam. Is there any questions from the Moors on the line about what was being said? Any questions about anything mentioned? You guys can ask questions, speak. We have quite a few on, so Islam. If I got any questions, let me know. Okay.
Islam.
What?
This question is not it's not pertaining to what he was just building on and teaching us or whatever. The brother Harlan Bey, who was he? W. Harlan Bey, because I know he's down as being a Supreme Grand Sheik also. Well, I think he came after Walton Bey. Who is he and what happened to him? Islam.
Islam. Harlan Bey, to be honest, from my understanding, I don't have much on Harlan Bey. Okay, I know me and A Smith Bey. I know the document that A Smith Bey read just not a minute ago was a document I found in Belial's house on 2017. I went over to convention. Okay, I shared that with several Moors. A lot of Moors who were pure in heart wanted to know certain things. But that's why I said several Moors. I don't mean just Moors in our grand body. I shared that with a few Moors of Curtin Bay. I think a Moor who I shared it. I know I passed that off to Brother Haru Randy CL, I believe. But I passed that off to a few other Moors. Has that document. That I could say this, brother. We're just now scratching the surface and so forth when it comes to just Jay Walton there. We even got to Harlan Bey. Who's Harlan Bey? And that's a good question. And I gotta just say right now, I don't have a definitive or descriptive answer or descriptive idea or understanding of who he was as a sheik and when he come into play, so forth. Only thing I could probably render to you is just the fact that he maintained the station, and helped keep the doors open. That's the only thing I could say right now. I can't really go into the fact of who he actually was, where he came from. I just found a handwritten obituary of Old Louisville, the one after Harlan Bey. Okay, I believe Bailey Hill wrote the obituary. but that has a little descriptive of who Oluwa and so forth was. But I don't know if these particular Moors, Harlem Bay, Oluwa actually did any groundwork so far as for the temple is concerned, as like J. Walton L, Emilio did, even Baliel had done, and solidified the temple and its presence, and so forth. But I could just say they really just held the doors open more, just kept the meetings going. You know, that's all I can say too. I'll find any more information. You know, I definitely once I get it, I'm gonna share it. You know, that's long. Sorry, I couldn't really answer your question like you really wanted it.
Islam, Sheik.
No.
Yes, I just want to add to that. I can't add much to it myself, but these are things that we do want to find out. Given the efforts of what J. Walton Hill did, we should want to know what happened to him, Islam, because clearly, if he was elected by the membership, and we know the efforts that he put forward in trying to keep together, it's kind of strange that he's on this list as only being there for like a year, Islam. Mm-hmm. And then you have the brother, Harlem Bay come after him, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right, Harlem Bay and then Old Lewis Hill. So yeah, it is. That's some research we got to find, and unfortunately, a lot of these elders can change form, and sometimes this information, we just don't have it. But like just trying to connect the dots, put these pieces together, because me personally, I would love to know what happened to Walton Hill, given the efforts that he put forward, him being elected as the Grand Sheik. How was he only there? He's only on, according to these documents and these lists that we, in this present era, this all we have to go on, Islam. Mm-hmm. And supposedly he was only in that station for like about a year. That's kind of strange to me, Islam. Just want to add that in.
Yeah, Islam, and what comes to mind actually is someone did tell me. And I'm going, but man knows not what being told. And hopefully that individual will share what they have, what evidence they have, that Sister Meliel when she came back in the fold, they had a reselection of Grand Sheik. And Brother Harlem Bay was selected, so that's what I was told. That when the sister came in, she actually wanted to have a reselection because she wasn't there for the other selection. So she finally came around, and they ended up having a reselection of the sheiks, and Harlem Bay was chosen, and from there. Of course, Harlem Bay he fell ill, and then Old Lewis L came in. I know Old Lewis L passed the torch over to Baliel because he had passed on. Baliel assumed the position of chairman. So, but that's the only thing. And that's me just like summarizing what I know. Like I said, I like Brother A. Smith Bey. Sheik said, I would love to have more information to give an extensive narrative of what happened, And like he said, like the Sheik said, these elders have passed on, or they on their way, and there's a lot of stuff that we need to go through and find and do our research. Somebody, we need to like excavate Chicago. When I mean excavate, I mean, so we need to pull out a phone book, look at some names, hunt down some family members. Who are you? So you have a great granddad who used to be part of Moorish, X, Y, and Z. I mean, like, it would have to be some like hardcore investigation, really, and nobody has really put forth that time and effort. Nobody has the money or resources to really do that. A lot, and also, to be truthfully honest, and I'm not trying to throw, I'm not trying to be the one to bear the bad news or be someone to always shed anything negative or anything, but we have to deal with reality. There are forces out there that don't want us to know. There are individuals that don't want us to recover certain information. And some of them individuals have fences on. You know, for Islam, you in a minute. Then again, they don't want you to know X, Y, and Z, or want you to discover X, Y, and Z. Of the true history of the lineage, Temple One or Moorish Simple. I don't want to do that. So you have those forces out there, and then just the fact that nobody really, really making that sacrifice to go and pursue that lineage and pursue that information. You got. I think about that the documentary with Malcolm X. That brother, he actually has his master. And now he doesn't have his master. He didn't have a master. He didn't have none of that. But I think he occupied it. The guy who did the documentary, he occupied his whole life and career. He's just a person who's what was his job? He was a tour guy. You know what I'm saying? He does tours. I don't pay much, but he put all his money and his effort to researching an era and time when he was just really a kid. If not, I don't even know if he was born. If he was born, I can't remember his birthday. We're talking about the Malcolm X documentary on Netflix. The brother who put it together. You know what I'm saying? If you look at his life, he put a lot of effort and time, and he's not even a researcher. That wasn't even his expertise. But he loved, I guess he had this passion for Malcolm and the truth. He put his time and effort into searching what actually happened. And that's what, Moors need to do, to really, and I give honors to brother Editor Ill. I give honors to brother J. Barnes Bey, rest in peace. I give honors to Edwards L, just for their efforts on trying to uncover the system. You know what I'm saying? And I even give them further honors to the fact that when they uncovered particular facts, they made their efforts to join them. This said particular grand body, but even though I know throughout time, in different situations, they ended up leaving on their own whims. But at the same time, they did put the efforts in. They did come over. They do have the Maccabean files, which is actually, it's really that book is actually just now really catching on. You got Moors everywhere trying to really reference to that Maccabean file. So that's a good document to go off of and discover some of this history that's been lost. I won't be long-winded. Is any other questions regarding the information that was just shared? Any more questions? Is anybody confused for what was being said? Anyone confused? May not have a clarity on certain things.
Islam, just real quick, and I'm gonna stop asking so many questions.
Fine, Mo. Just fine. Come on with it.
So just say, I don't know if it's the right thing. Like he just said, like what y'all said, like what Walton Bey did. Walton Bey tried to, or attempted to go and shut the temples down that was established in Brooklyn. It's, I'm bugging out off of that because in my mind, sometimes I'll be thinking about how, how the, really most of the grand bodies is basically praying for our grandbody downfall. And we the original grandbody. I don't know if it's my lower self, you know, it could be my lower self, but sometimes my lower self, or, you know, it tells me like, you know, to go and shut everybody down. Like how Walton Bey did, tried to do. If they out of law, do we have the power to do that? I understand, like the brother was saying, A. Smith Bey was saying, because the corporation thing, because they put the ink on it, on the Moorish Science Temple of America, that he couldn't shut them down or sue them or whatever. New York City, the judges of the courts wasn't going for that. But is it possible that we can do other grand bodies like that, like go and the ones that are like fighting against us and stuff like that? Can we go and shut them down? Is it possible that we could do that in the future? Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam. That's a very, very, very it's an honest question. I know where that's coming from, you know, and that's a talk. That's the talk. Can that actually happen? I would say that is a very, 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 very cloudy discussion. Allows me cloudy. It's not clear because certain temples and bodies were filed under different names, with additions to more science supplement. So technically, in law, they're almost separate organizations in themselves. Okay. What I would say, what most judges will look at in order to escape the responsibility of adjudicating the situation, would probably look at it as this is an internal problem, and you just have members who are actually trying to start their own. You know, that's an eternal religious issue. You know, I can't stop them from practicing their religious rights. If they feel like they are Moorish American Muslims, according to the First Amendment, they have a right to practice. You know what I'm saying? Shit thing. Now, they can't say they are the Moorish Science Temple of America. If they come out and say they're the Moorish Science Temple of America, then that's an issue. You understand? Then we could probably go toe to toe. But the fact that if say take R. Jones Bay for instance, it's still, if it's Moorish Science Temple of America Inc., technically would be considered possibly a separate organization. Now, do we have the right to put forth the truth? Absolutely. And that might be a more viable approach than actually trying to shut every temple down. Okay? You might need to reference your Moorish Holy Quran in the parable of the broken blades with brother prophet Jesus. When Jesus told the parable of, you know, different of the blades of crop, and when they said go, you know, pull up the ones that are good, and then the ones that are not or broken, gather them up and toss them in the fire or in the furnace. And then when man came back and he saw pretty much all of it was gone, he was like, "What's going on? What happened?" And his servants was like, "Hey, we did what you said. We just basically the ones that were broken, but we tried our best and we threw whatever we saw in the fire, whatever. We said, I ain't got no crop. I ain't got no crops." Basically, the moral of that is saying that if we just go headhunting and just pull a lot of people out, hey, shut it down. Just shut it down. Shut it down. Boom, 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 shut it down. The way Allah works, brother, the way Allah works in a way that sometimes we don't understand. It may be contrary to what we feel, but when truth is bound, it comes around 360. There's certain temples, yeah, they know they not might be in the right lineage. They know whatever. but they are imparting the foundation in Moors, daily, every week. They're imparting the foundation, whether they're, wherever temple they may be, or whatever what grandvalley they're under. They're still getting that essence, the fundamental essence of what a Moorish American is, the culture, and those things. So it's still an outreach. Because say we shut it all down, boom, we shut it all down, right? That's a heavy burden for us to even carry along within this grand body, But if we continue to build up and people will come around eventually, Allah uses those temples that may be in this grand body and that grand body to bring in the members still and give them the teaching. So inshallah, when the time comes for them to come home, they'll come home. If they don't, oh well. Because at the end of the day, as long as they know that Allah and man is one, and they know the truth about their higher self and lower self, then they, in the eyes of divinity, they're fine. There's no issue. It's not a dire need. It's the ones who are overly deceptive that we really need to worry about shut down, that are hustling people out of their funds and doing them, leaving them out dry. You know what I'm saying? We need to shut that down. You know what I'm saying? Those temples that are totally out of pocket. You know what I'm saying? Those are the temples we need to shut down. But you got members who are generations in some of these temples, man, some of these grand bodies. So, you don't want to, take away that. That's family. That's family to us, but that's a family situation for them, So, I would say, it's a very cloudy situation. But if anything, we do have the right to propagate the truth of the history of the Moorish science of America, the Prophet, and Prophet Noble Ali, so forth. Islam? Anybody else have a question?
Islam, that
Islam,
helped me
more.
out. Islam.
Who's that?
Islam, more.
Islam. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Good.
Yep, yes, sir. Islam. I just want to add on. That was an excellent demonstration, more. And like I said, Brother McCoy, baby, I feel him. But at the same time, you clarified that Islam. I just want to read the ayat out of the Holy Quran of Mecca. Islam. Surah 8, ayat 30. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Remember how the unbelievers plotted against thee to keep thee in bonds, or slay thee, or get thee out of their home. They plot and plan, and God too plans, but Allah, the best of planners. Islam. So they doing their work, Mo. Like you said, and all we have to do, just want to reiterate, add on to what you demonstrated, Mo. When those that know the truth, when we do what we need to do, the membership gonna come in. Islam. But if the prophet said in his day, he said, "Y'all from Missouri, I got to show you." It's one of his oral statements. Islam. So when they see us, and it's like, if we ain't having nothing and we ain't demonstrating, we ain't got the properties, we ain't, what I mean? The Asiatics is looking like, yeah, y'all got all that, but y'all really ain't, what I mean? I hear this all the time. And it's like here in New Mecca, just to share with them more, again, going back to what the brother Walter Neal did, that's how they were able to evade being shut down. Because again, they know that they couldn't use their corporate name, Moorish Science of America, Islam, but nevertheless, and this is what I found out, and I haven't seen it for myself, I just want to add this in. Those temples that did conspire to put Kirkman Bey over merely ill, again, we got to bear in mind, they were only successful in doing so after he changed form. And Walton Eel put forth the efforts to have them shut down, but this is why these various corporate names came about. But this is what we got to remember. From demonstrating with various elders in the movement, and D. Belier himself, he's even said he's seen it. he knows that Temple Number 9 still has their original charter with the prophet's signature on it. So when you think about what they did, and I've heard this from other elder sheiks who come from the Ink demonstration, that when they tried to consolidate power, and those other subordinate temples that joined in with them, whether it was Temple 3, 4 in Detroit, ultimately we know there's a Temple 25 in Detroit as well, 15, 18. What, again, man knows not from being told, Islam, but like I said, using deductive reasoning, and this is the best we do, gather the evidence. They consolidated those temples that went under the leadership of Kirkman Bey, and they collected all of those original charters with the prophet's signature, Islam, and so they had to change their charters to say Moorish Science Temple of America, Inc., Islam. So every charter that they issue has to say Inc. on it, but we don't know. R. Jones Bey may have in his possession several charters of all those temples that may have been passed under the years. Again, I don't know. This is just speculative, but this is what I was told from some of the elders that come from that demonstration. And D.B.L.E.L. himself says he knows that Temple Number 9 here in New Mecca still has the original charter. So in the essence of actually shutting them down, they still had their charters. Islam. And then we had this confusion with Braswell Bay and D.B.L.E.L., you know, that they have amongst themselves. So it's just so much. But all we have to do, just want to add this in, is do what we need to do. And again, teaching our people that national and their divine creed, the membership's going to come in. But we're going to have to get, you know, we're going to have to establish ourselves, solidify our position, Islam, insofar as every territory of the original grand body, so that we can come out together, that the Moors actually have a place to go to. The prophet was about having things. Islam is all throughout the literature. So once we start doing that, the membership is going to come in. A lot of Moors just don't want to be involved with the folly that's going on. So again, we just got to, you know, put forth our best efforts in the continuation of uplifting fallen humanity, Islam. But again, even if they fall into that demonstration, like I said, they're going to find out the truth. And as long as we got the doors open and they, you know, when they ready and they wake up, they'll come on home. Islam. So I just want to add that in. I yield the floor.
Islam. And just to camelback off what you said, I want to just encourage Moors on this line to understand that there will be folly from all types of directions. There will be foolishness in all types of directions. You can't escape folly. You can't escape falsehood. It's going to come. You're living in falsehood now. Every time you walk out the door, you know, it fades away. It's not going to last. We got to see through it. If we know what the prophet brought us, and we know what the prophet intended for us to be, if we know the situation, then we have to put that as our goal, our marquee goal. We have to put that as our goal. Keep that in mind in our hearts so we can continue, you know what I'm saying, to strive on to bring forth into fruition what the prophet intended. You know what I'm saying? It's already in fruition. We just got to get it there. You know what I'm saying? It's already, you know, it's waiting. We just have to reach it. So, you know, it's going to come with the folly and the foolishness from this one and that one, whatever. It may even come within amongst ourselves sometimes. You know, that's that, you know, but that comes with the pay, labor pains. That comes with the territory. You know, you have to fight the folly because they know when, you know, when basically when you shine a light on anything, or when you be the beacon of light, you know, things become disruptive. You know, one thing Hollywood does, one thing Hollywood does, it gives a falsehood of revolution and enlightenment. It make it look like once the light is on, or once that person reaches enlightenment, or there's a revolution, or something is changing, everything seems so better. Like, oh, here comes the flowers. You know, here comes, you know what I'm saying? There's a beam of light and glitters everywhere. Like if you look at, if you remember The Wiz, at the end of The Wiz, everybody just took off the husk of their skin, and now they all dancing in their drawers, golden drawers everywhere. You know what I'm saying, with glitter. And then you got the situation with there's other different scenarios, but that's a falsehood because it's not like that. It's a turmoil, and when the enlightenment comes, when the enlightenment comes, um, when the enlightenment comes, it's not going to mean that everything or everyone is going to come into the truth. There's going to be some people running and fighting it. When Prophet Muhammad came with the revelation, people wanted to kill him. Islam. That's why I think Moors don't understand. Like, this thing is not going to be. It's not going to be a pretty story. It already didn't start off as a pretty story. People tried to kill the prophet while he was in the flesh. So we have to understand that it's going to be a consistent confrontation, and we just have to be prepared and have peace amongst ourselves, within ourselves. Within ourselves, because it's not, it's not going to be a Hollywood fable, because the Hollywood is dressed it up real fine. Like, I want everyone to think of something. Think about a flower. Okay. Think about a seed. Something, seed. And we see how the seed and the plant unfolds out the seed and bursts through the shell of the seed, goes up the dirt, and sprouts out the soil. We've seen that. They got these digital cameras that can speed up time. This is my thing. How do we know if that situation is a gentle situation for the plant, and that plant is not? Because the plant can feel now. It's scientifically been proven that plants can feel. How do we know that plant ain't feeling something that's uncomfortable, burdensome? Think about it. It has to crack right through the shell, and it has to percolate itself up through the soil to sprout out. Now, how do we know even when it sprouts out that the unfolding of its leaves is not a painful thing? Or some type of discomfort? Because remember, it's folded up for the longest. Until, like, you ever get up, your arms, you ever sit down for a while, and your legs get all numb and tight. You finally stretch out. It feels good, but at the same time, it feels, that's why you get that little growl, when you stretch. It's the same thing with this movement, man. The same thing with the movement, man. Disappointment from this part, disappointment from this one, confusion from this one, confusion from that one. What's going to happen? You got to take time to sift through it. Let's see. This A Smith Bey. Okay, so clarify the situation with Brother Shelby. E turn the L, F turn the L, and E turn the L. Okay. And let the people know that they were father and son. E turn the L was the father, F turn the L was the son, right? Islam?
Islam, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So, being at the prophet, and I know you guys probably wonder, all this confusion occurred, and I think we sent the document about where the prophet was actually headed to, with dealing with law and how we're set up, because this was going to make the importance of the Prophet's temple so important. You know, you got a lot of people who are trying to mimic and copy what the temple, what the Prophet has done. You got a brother. You got these different demonstrations that are out here that are actually trying to, not only mimic and copy, but also one up on the Moorish science of America. People don't understand that what the Prophet put in motion, it can't be dissolved. Now, you have, I believe in that book, Moab, I think it talks about, I'm talking about the Maccabean files. I believe the brothers, they actually came to the conclusion that the doors were shut. Am I right or wrong? Is that in that one?
Islam, Sheik, insofar as I'm trying to draw, your meaning, what you're referencing.
What I'm referencing is that in the Maccabean files, I believe that the brothers, the authors of the brothers, they actually came to the conclusion that Prophet, I know there's one draw that the Prophet might have closed down the temples, or Sister Amelia might have shut everything down.
Islam. Okay, if this is what you're referencing, and this is, and I trust that I think they realized this years later after they put this together. But yeah, I think we were discussing this.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. It's a point in the Mukarban. Let me get it right here. Hold on one second. They bring up several points at the summation of, like I said, Islam. Go ahead, Mo.
Not to cut your wisdom. Let's let y'all know, if anyone's on Facebook, y'all can inbox the brother R. Edward Sell. I think he sells it for $40, the Maccabean file. Y'all can actually get the full bind, the full text. Now I believe what's available on Scribe? What is it? The first half?
Scribe is just like 94 pages, but if I'm not mistaken, it's supposed to be almost like 1,000-page measure that they put together.
Yeah, it's like 1,000-page measure. So they that book is $40. Brother R. Edwards, he has that. So if y'all go inbox him on Facebook, he would probably. I'm supposed to get a copy. I ain't sending him my 40 yet, but I'm gonna hit him off. But inshallah. So, but just you guys want to, if you guys are interested in getting that document, I give the brother a plug this Sunday. So go ahead, Mo. Go ahead, finish the demonstration. Yes,
sir. Okay. Yeah, it's a point for those that do have access to the copy that's on Scribe on page 69. Beginning on 68, they give 8 points basically. And I just want to read. I'm not going to read all of them. Just go to the key one where it was clearly a misunderstanding. And again, we have to clarify this, and then just to kind of camelback on what the brother McCoy Bey was demonstrating before, and because we left this part out. And I'm quite sure more we'll get to it, trying to cover the difference between what the Prophet originally established as the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. That though it was a civic organization, and the mission statement was for the uplifting and fallen humanity and to teach those things necessary for men and women to become better citizens. Islam, it was a civic organization, but it was filed under the not for pecuniary profit act. Islam, when he came to Illinois, it's because like I said, it's only three different types of corporations: corporations for pecuniary profit, corporations not for pecuniary profit, and then you have religious corporations. Islam. So the key point that they made, and it was an error on starting on page 68. They give so many points, but point 8 on page 69 states that in February of 1929, Brother E. Millie Eel was officially recorded on annual reports submitted to the Secretary of the State of Illinois as president of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Inc. Note, and they have in parentheses, note, filing with the Secretary of State changed the corporate status of the movement from the Religious Corporation Act of 1872 to the current not-for-profit corporation, ETC. That's false. Reason being, now again, and I was demonstrating this with the brother Springer and Sheik Dandridge. I said until I see proof of that document, and if they have it in the book, all is well. At the same time, once the Prophet filed the Affidavit of Organization for Religious Corporation on August 1st, 1928, the Moorish Science Temple of America was no longer under the status of a corporation not for pecuniary profit. And Moors, I can't stress this enough. This is why you have to really study the Herds of Our statutes. Not necessarily 805, what everybody always talking about, the 805, ILCS. That's just the Illinois compiled statutes. Illinois didn't compile the statutes until 1992. The Herds of Our statutes, those original subsections, because a couple of things change under insofar as marriage. There are more details under the rights of marriage that are afforded religious societies, Islam, but everything else is pretty much the same. But I just want to read this real quick so we can have a point of clarity as it relates to that and what was stated, saying that he went in February. Now, I'm not saying that he didn't go in February of 1929, but we got to just exercise some common sense. The tax year, like fiscal tax year, whatever, we in 2020 now, right? So everybody's doing their taxes for 2019. And it's always been like that. Islam, corporations normally file theirs, required to file like a month or two before, private individuals. Islam, so most corporations would file in February because March would be their deadline as opposed to April. So I'm saying this to say, in 1928, the Moorish Science Temple of America was still in the corporate status of a not-for-pecuniary profit corporation. The corporate name didn't get changed to the Moorish Science Temple of America until May of 1928. Islam, it was Moorish Holy Temple of Science. May of 1928, the corporate name gets changed to the Moorish Science Temple of America. But then in August 1st, 1928, the affidavit was filed. Once the affidavit was filed, we became a religious corporation. And I want to read this real quick just to demonstrate the importance of studying Herds of Our statutes. In this particular order, because the prophet always references on the back of the 101s, he will put see Herds of Our statutes, chapter 32, subsection 36. Subsection 36 is the affidavit itself. That's why the affidavit existed on the back of the 101s, but it wasn't an exact replica copy of the affidavit because there's certain things missing on it. The R, upside down R, we'll demonstrate when we get time, we'll go over that. But nevertheless, I want to read subsection 35 real quick, and then I'm going to go back and read 34 because this is key. Subsection 35, no, 1,000 parts. Let's do it in sequence. Subsection 34, this is the last subsection under not for pecuniary profit corporation. And it says, change of articles of association. Subsection 34, any such corporation, society, or association may change its articles of association in the manner prescribed by their own rules, but no such change shall be of legal effect until a certificate thereof under seal of such corporation, society, or association shall be filed in the office of the Secretary of State and recorded in the office of the Recorder of Deeds in which the original certificate was recorded. Now, why is this significant? He went, Emil Eel still had to file with the Secretary of State for the fiscal year 1928, Islam. So he would go in February of 1929 because for the majority of that previous year, we were still in the not-for-profit status. Islam, we didn't become a religious corporation until August of that year. So when he would file in 1929, of course, the obvious, and I'm quite sure the brother Mila knew what to do because the prophet was still in form, Islam, and we know he was under the guidance and the tutelage of the prophet, Islam. So if he made any error, it's kind of hard to think that he made an error when he had access to the prophet, Islam. So this is what's key about subsection 35. Subsection 35 says, and this is the first subsection under religious corporations. The first sentence is so key. It says, how organized? The foregoing provisions shall not apply to any religious corporations. I'm going to stop right there. The foregoing provisions, that means from subsection 34 all the way up, that demonstrate from 1 to 34, that covers corporations. The first, in chapter 32, the first corporation starting from subsection 1 is corporations for pecuniary profit. Okay? Chapter 32, subsection 1 is corporations for pecuniary profit. And subsection 1 demonstrates, subsection 5 states that corporations formed under this act shall be bodies corporate and politic for the period for which they are organized. That's different than a body politic and corporate. I'll just point that out. So when you get to corporations not for pecuniary profit, because again, at this time, there were no 501c3s. That's the Johnson Amendment. That didn't come about to 1954. We in 1928 right now. So at subsection 29 is the beginning of the statutes concerning corporations not for pecuniary profit. And subsection 31 states again, says corporate powers were not insurance companies. Corporations, associations, and societies not for pecuniary profit formed under this act shall be bodies corporate and politic. Islam? So now, from 29 to 34, that's what governs the statutes that govern corporations not for pecuniary profit. And the key one is 34, where it says, like I said, they can change, may change its articles of association. We didn't change the articles of association. The Prophet filed an affidavit of organization for a religious corporation. This is why subsection 35 is so key. It says the foregoing provisions shall not apply to any religious corporations, but any church, congregation, or society formed for the purpose of religious worship may become incorporated in the manner following, to wit, by electing or appointing, according to its usages or customs, at any meeting held for that purpose, two or more of its members as trustees, wardens, and vestrymen, or such other officers whose powers and duties are similar to those of trustees. Just side note, the Prophet scratched out the word trustees and inserted sheiks. Islam, as shall be agreeable to the usages and customs, rules, or regulations of such congregation, church, or society, and may adopt a corporate name, and upon the filing of the affidavit, as hereinafter provided, it shall be and remain a body politic and corporate by the name so adopted. And so religious corporations start at subsection 35 and they end at subsection 49. Because then they have the general provisions are from subsection 47, 48, and 49. But 46 technically will be like the last one, and that's right to publish. Islam. So my point for saying all of this is, when the brothers pointed out that Merely Ill put the temple back under a not-for-profit status when he filed with the Secretary of State, that's false. He filed with the Secretary of State because we were still in a not-for-profit status for the majority of the year of 1928. But when he filed with the Secretary of State, the affidavit, when he presented that affidavit, we had no more dealings with the Secretary of State. Islam, and again, not to, to be brief as possible, when you take the time to read these subsections, you will see that there is no requirement for a religious corporation to file with the Secretary of State. That's why subsection 35 explicitly says the foregoing provisions shall not apply to any religious corporation, meaning everything from subsection 34 all the way back up to 1, the way that a corporation for pecuniary profit and not for pecuniary profit are governed, a religious corporation don't have to follow those guidelines. Islam, and that's why it states that it shall be and remain a body politic and corporate. So a body politic being the noun, corporate being the adjective. Body politic is the collective body of a nation or state as politically organized or exercising political functions. Corporate is just that. We have a corporate function. Because we are a religious corporation, we have a corporate function, Islam, but at the crux of what we are a body politic, the collective body of a nation or state. And to put it in context, the Moorish Divine and National Movement being our free national government, Islam, which the Prophet said, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the earth, Islam, he organized that in 1916, May 1st, 1916. But the power of the religious corporation is so key, it can never be changed. The status of the temple, Moors, all you got to do is read. The Prophet said, if I get you Moors to think, you can save yourselves. Islam, so that's what all this has. We just got to think. It says, it shall be and remain a body politic and corporate. Merely Ill couldn't change it if he wanted to. Nobody could have changed it once the affidavit was filed. The affidavit wasn't rebutted, it stood. Islam. So that's just an error more. So just I don't want to be too long-winded with the measure, but it's so key. And of course, I'm quite sure these Moors found out the reality because again, the Muqarrabin was prepared back in the 90s, if I'm not mistaken, when they put this out. So I'm quite sure today they understand that no, it couldn't be changed. So those temples that operate as that get set up as not-for-profits and 501c3s in this modern era, that's not what the temple is. When the affidavit was filed, we are no longer under that status. And so this is what the Moors under Kirkman Bey that put him in play, this is what they did. They filed with the Secretary of State. So a lot of Moors think even Braswell Bey and his body did this. They reached out to the Illinois Secretary of State and they said the only Moorish Science Temple of America that we recognize is the one that was established in 1926. Those are facts. That's the one that they recognize. The one that was formed in 1926. So I just want to camel back on what the brother McCoy Bey demonstrated. If you wanted to shut them down, if one of these elders, whether it was Braswell Bey during his era, P. Davis Eel, D. Bailey Eel, all they would have had to do was go back to the Secretary of State, and that's how you shut them down. Because, okay, they can't do business as a not-for-profit because we are no longer a not-for-profit. We're a religious corporation. And see, they know that. Trust me. And again, all is well with those Moors. But R. Jones Bey and them, they understand that. But this is how they've been able to exist because they operate under that not-for-profit status with the corporate name Moorish Science Temple of America, Inc., yet they have still those original charters. They may not put them on display, but they still had them original charters for the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. So the way to shut them down would be to go through the Secretary of State because we have no dealings with any Secretary of State of any said state, Islam, because as a religious corporation, those temples in the various territories to do business, you go to the county recorder's office. Islam, that's who you deal with, whether property or whatever business entity you set up. When they know you're a religious corporation, you don't have to deal with the Secretary of State. Islam. So I hope that gave some clarity to the situation more. Like I yield the floor.
Islam. What I want to also bring out is that if you look once, I don't know if I sent that affidavit out. I believe I did. The J. Walton L. meeting of the restructuring of the Temple One. What I wanted to bring that out is that he actually quoted or put down, I think he actually put in the affidavit the actual statutes to show what he was at, what they were actually doing. What you just read, Brother A. Smith Bey, with coming together and then picking and choosing the officers within the religious body. I believe that was quoted or referenced on that affidavit. So Jay Walnell knew what he was doing. He kind of had the idea of the law, and he was putting that into play and showing that this is what we were doing. We had the right to restructure our officers, reselect the officers, within our organization. So, any questions from the Moors? Any concerns? I never guess. Wow. Yeah. Any like, does anyone have any input or anything? Like I said, this is not really as formal. We said we discussing, and of course we're giving Brother A. Smith Bey the floor because this is something that he has a passion for, So, so if anybody has any concerns and more questions, anybody confused about the information? And like I said, I sent documents. So, if y'all want to reference it, what I'm saying, and look at some of the documents I sent out, please take time to look through them. Please take time to look through them. I believe what I'm gonna do is, and it's we must be on the same wavelength, McCoy Bay, because I actually was thinking about redoing that temple lineage list and actually restructuring it, updating it and putting it out. I mean, I'll probably submit it to the grand body or whatnot, but it's having that, as far as, what actually, according to what actually transpired and who was who. Of course I would sort with Brother A. Smith Bey, and for information.
Islam, Sheik.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I just want to add something in briefly as well. In the law dictionary, right? When you look up the definition for a religious corporation, it's going to tell you, it's going to refer you to go to corporations, right? And it's very subtle the way it's in here. But if any of the Moors have researched it, you will find the definition for religious corporation is hidden in the definition between ecclesiastical and lay. So like I said, if you look up religious corporation, you go to R, it's going to say religious corporation, but it's going to tell you C corporations. Islam, when you go to corporation, you're not going to see one for religious corporation, but they have it hidden in between ecclesiastical and lay. And I just want to read that briefly, just to, again, to just give some more clarity to the meaning of body, politic, and corporate. Why the other corporations, the other two corporations, for pecuniary profit and not for pecuniary profit, are styled in law as bodies corporate and politic, and not body politic and corporate. Major difference. But here it is. The definition, this out of third edition Black's Law, says under corporations, ecclesiastical and lay. In the English law, all corporations private are divided into ecclesiastical and lay. The former being such corporations as are composed exclusively of ecclesiastics organized for spiritual purposes or for administering property held for religious uses, such as bishops and certain other dignitaries of the church, and formerly abbeys and monasteries. Then it says, lay corporations are those composed of laymen and existing for secular or business purposes. Now this way it gets good. This distinction is not recognized in American law. Corporations formed for the purpose of maintaining or propagating religion or of supporting public religious services according to the rites of particular denominations, and incidentally owning and administering real and personal property for religious uses, are called religious corporations, as distinguished from business corporations, but they are lay corporations and not ecclesiastical in the sense of the English law. Now, why is that key? We know the movement is both divine and national. Again, we don't practice the schism. In the Christian paradigm, where they have the separation of church and state. Islam, we are not ecclesiastical. Ecclesiastical means church. Islam. So the prophet, he didn't scratch out trustees on the affidavit organization and put rabbi or kohen. Islam, he didn't put ministers, he didn't put preachers, he put sheiks. Islam, as trustees. So we are not ecclesiastical in that sense. And it says right here, it says this distinction is not recognized in American law. So the fact of the matter is, the affidavit, the filing of the affidavit, when the prophet announced at the first convention, he said, this day I made you a nation. Islam, because, and we have to look at body politic in this sense. Just as in us being native peoples to this land, indigenous to this land, not just of the planet, but Moorish Americans, we know that we were on this side before it was considered a side, before the great earthquake, which caused the Atlantic Ocean. Islam. So us already being here, we have to look at body politic in the sense of our other Asiatic brethren, misnomer as Indians. Islam, when they were put on reservations, right? They still practice autonomy. where they still govern their affairs, even though they're still like in a ward status, right? But they still have autonomy. They have tribal jurisdiction. They have their own territory, yet they're still located within the said boundaries of a particular state. Islam, a particular state of disunion. Islam, so they still practice their own autonomy. So when we look at it from that sense, that's what we're talking about, nation state. Wherever the prophet established the temple, once he filed that affidavit, we had our own jurisdiction, just as you see the Catholic Church, the archdiocese, and how they operate. Because when they realized what the prophet had done in 1928, this is why the Lateran Treaty didn't come about until 1929, where the Roman Catholic Church, even though they had been around for a couple of thousand years, Islam, they realized what they needed to do. So what did they do? They went back to the city of Rome in the country of Italy, and they established the Holy See. The Holy See being its own and supposedly the smallest city-state. Islam, that's their central government, because did not the prophet tell us in chapter 46, the foundation of Christianity was in Rome? So they had to go back to Rome and establish the Holy See as their central seat of government for all of their other archdioceses and, whatever in their international affairs. Islam, so we have to see the temple and what the prophet did. This is what he did. Again, our ancestors were the founders of civilization. So we always established city-states, nation-states that were still subsidiary to kingdoms, the kingdoms were still subsidiary to the empires. Islam, that's why chapter 47 says Egypt, the capital empire of the dominion of Africa. Africa had dominion in various territories after the great earthquake. Islam, and Egypt was the capital empire. There were other empires, but Egypt was the capital. So we have to look at the temple in that sense. Everywhere there's a subordinate temple, we have our own jurisdiction. We supposed to have our own land. We supposed to have our own living quarters. We supposed to have our own schools, universities. Islam, we supposed to have our own acres to cultivate our own land. Islam, this is, when you go through the prophet's literature, this is what he was doing, trying to get us back, what he referenced in the warning, to that state of mind. Islam, getting us back to that divine state of mind of our forefathers. Islam. So in that sense, this is the purpose for him establishing the temple as a religious corporation. But that's the science of it. They hide the very definition in between ecclesiastical and lay. Islam. So I just wanted to, just add that in for clarity, because it's key in us understanding how we're supposed to move. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam. Just to camelback off of that, specifically, when you speak of the origin of Christianity, many historians will say, of course, Christianity had its rise out of Egypt, but not per se. Yeah, pretty much the seat of where the Pope was at the time was that this is before the Holy See was established. It was in Egypt at one time, but the laws and what was being basically coming out of basically the canon and the creeds and things that dictated were coming out of Rome. You know what I'm saying? Or Nicaea. You know what I'm saying? Basically, these, when the prophet said, basically Christianity got to start in Rome, that's what it did. It actually got to start in Rome. And like the brother A. Smith Bey said, they had to go back to Rome to establish it in Rome. You know what I'm saying? And also when they did establish the Holy See and they did follow what they did for the Vatican, it was at a time, I believe in history, where they were trying to, it was something, I forgot what was going on, I can't really recall, but they did it also out of their own protection. It was in order of their own protection. You know what I'm saying? Basically to keep everything in motion, because, at the time when they did it, you're talking about World War I, on a brink of World War II starting 10 years later, and so forth and so on. So, we're talking about, preserving their culture, preserving their, what they need, their religion and everything and their creed, so within the bounds. Now, it's the same thing with the prophet. One thing I know that, like, just for myself, I actually, I have a background in different Moorish demonstrations, and one of it was Washington. And when I came into the temple, it was Grand Body, and one thing there was said to one sheik. I'm not going to labor on old situations, but It's a learning point. It's definitely a learning moment. It was said, and it was asked during the meeting. They were saying, "Would can someone from Washington join the temple?" And the Sheik actually said, "Well, through his understanding, this particular portion of understanding, he said he told the individual, well, yes, but eventually you're gonna have to make a choice." You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I think it came off wrong when he said it, but I labored on that for a little bit more. And being said, I realized that the Moorish Science Temple America in itself, if you look at the literature, look at the teachings of the Prophet, it caters to even the indigenous. Wrong? It caters to that part. It caters to those who had tribal inheritance. See, the issue is if you follow the history or true history, what occurred to us, they took away a lot of our identity, even our tribal identity. With the Dawes rule, the Dawes census, and they took Dawes rules and they took it and they changed Indian and they cropped out Indian and they put Negro. A lot of that happened to a lot of us. You actually have indigenous inheritance into this land. So they changed the narrative. The Prophet said something. He said something so profound that if one were to come into the knowledge of it, they have freedom to still gain a nationality that will also protect it. Along with the nationality comes this literature. These are free national standards, Mo. These are free national standards. Your Moorish Holy Quran is a free national standard. The pages within it. So when you take it and you apply it, it basically connects you, and it also can house and protect what you consider tribal. Now, we know differences as far as, particular practices. There's a freedom to practice your tribal, your tribal heritage and so forth and so on. But yeah, if you were Washington, whatever you may claim or whatever your inheritance is, it's freedom to join the Moorish Science Temple America. I think the only thing that needs to be made of a choice is depending on how you express that tribal heritage. Then you have to make a choice because you got Moors out here trying to do the sovereign thing with their tribal heritage and tribal connections and stuff like that with the license plates and tags and going to court and all that. Yeah, you're gonna have to make a choice about that. You can't. We ain't doing that. But at the same time, as far as you just being identified in a sense as a Native American or Washita, whatever you may claim, Blackfoot, Yamasee or whatever you may be, you can hold on to that and not lose that while being a member of the Moorish Science. I think that's profound what the Prophet put forth. He put forth something that stretched beyond the bounds of dogmatic religion, but brings in encompasses the nature of truth within us. Who we are. It's a profound doctrine. Profound understanding, profound teaching. It's very different from what others are trying to say, or say, oh, he got that from this, he got that from this person, and this one and that one. No, I don't know. Even if it was different, nobody put it together like the Prophet, or the way Allah used the Prophet to put it together. I think that's very significant. Any concerns, questions? Islam? Horus? Or
Islam.
Islam, Mo. Go ahead, Mo.
Is it true that like I was listening to Brother A. Smith Bey?
Yes, sir.
He was talking about the how like y'all was saying, they had to go to Rome after they saw what the Prophet was doing. They learned something from that and realized that they had to go back to Rome to establish Christianity, or they to establish it in America. So the thing is, like he was saying, like the land, like we're supposed to have our own land and temples and stuff like that, farms, schools, and everything. You know, we can basically, from what I was told, that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali knew that organization can be turned into he knew how to turn an organization into a country, you know, a state, a city, a town, or even he could even as big as a country. I was hearing that, like, I think is countries that it was a country that started out as an organization, and now today is a country. I think I don't know if it's Russia or the USSR or something like that. But can y'all elaborate on that? Like, do we have the power to do that? I think, no, I was told that we do. We have the power to turn an organization actually to a country. Islam, I yield the floor.
Let's see. Islam, can y'all hear me? I'm cooking too. Islam.
Islam.
Yeah. I would say, I would say, yeah. You know what you're saying is right. There's let me do this for everybody on the call. What y'all want to do in y'all spare time? What y'all want to do is y'all want to go to YouTube. Go to YouTube when you get a chance. Okay, it ain't gotta be tonight. It ain't gotta be tomorrow night. Sometime this week. Go to YouTube and you want to plug in the search. Put body politics. Just put those two, body politics, and watch what comes up. And they got different tutorials of what a body politic is. And then begin to search through it. Investigate more. Surf it a little more. And see what else you find. Because you're going to find body politic, and then you're going to get into nation state. Then type in nation state. Body politic, nation state. Because you'll probably see nation state come under, you know, they got, and it's not long. Some of the videos are not even long. There's some of 3 minutes, 6 minutes, maybe I think the longest was probably 8 or 9 minutes. Look at it, see what they say, take notes, and you'll see what you kind of get an idea what the Prophet was aiming at and what he already set up. Okay, and then from there you'll get into what they call geopolitics and different. And they'll talk about different nation states and states have popped up off of this and that and different. You know what I'm saying? So you know, I'm just saying that's how, you know, I'm throwing that out there. Brother A Smith Bey, I'm gonna yield the floor to you because I know you probably got a measure on this. You know, I know that's your thing. So, go ahead, Mo.
Islam, or yes, sir. That's an excellent measure, Mo. Look, I'm gonna have to do that myself because I've never done that, right? Looked on YouTube, but yes, sir. Again, just for clarity, I'm gonna read this, and again, like you said, the Prophet. This is exactly what he did. This in the brother McCoy Bey. I want to say he talking about right the USSR, the Union. What does it stand for? Union Socialist Soviet Republic. Yes, sir. And at that time, it was a conglomeration of the various territories and smaller countries that came to formulate Russia, which is Russia. But that was the whole thing about the breaking up of the USSR. It was no longer the Soviet Union. Now it's just Russia, Islam, and all the other city states, which are countries. Islam, they got their own autonomy, and that's what we're dealing with, in this modern era now. Russia they're trying to reform the Soviet Union, Islam. So that's why they try to get certain territories in in territories that got their independence from when it was broke up, Islam. But as it relates to the prophet and the temple, this is exactly what he did. So again, remember, the Roman Catholic Church had already was in existence. But when they saw what the prophet did, and it gets real deep, they had to go back and establish a central seat of government. That's why the Holy See was established in 1929. Because remember, Rome is the city, Italy is the country. But they established a city within a city. Islam, a nation state within a country. And again, how we have to look at it, because we got to remember, the prophet said, the fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nation, North America. We're in a fallen state. We have been in a fallen state ever since 1492. Islam, and this is key. I knew the brother, what's his name, Van Sertima. I think we mentioned him earlier. The Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. If anybody has his book, They Came Before Columbus, he's quoting, and he's coming out of Columbus's diary, right? And I just want to bring this point up for this. When we're talking about the establishment of country, just our authority, how we're supposed to move, okay? As it relates to what Rome, they couldn't come over here. Islam, you got to remember, this was during the time when they thought and I'd rather read from the prophet real quick, briefly. Moorish leaders' historical message to America. I'm going to just read this section real quick, just to keep it in line with what the measure is. Islam, I always want to keep the prophet up front. Give me 1 second. Right, if I wasn't looking forward, it'd be right in my face. There you go. Okay, Islam. All right, this is a section right here. It's starting with be brief. Oh, here we go. To the early representatives of this faith, the world's debt is incalculably great, for it was they who transmitted the treasures of Greek literature from the Middle Ages to the Renaissance. They who originated the graceful forms of which the Taj Mahal and the Alhambra are the most famous examples. It was they who contributed to the sciences of algebra and chemistry, astronomy, and medicine. They who dotted the Saracen Empire with universities and who built at Baghdad and Cairo the most renowned universities of the world. During those centuries of ecclesiastical despotism, when the Christian church suppressed all intellectual activities save those that were theological, causing the talent that reproduces to supplant the genius that creates. Mohammedans did all in their power to encourage and stimulate research in every branch of human inquiry. I'm going to stop. I'm going to read this next one because it's key. The Moors or Mohammedans added to the beauty and grandeur of Spain. For centuries, art, science, literature, and chivalry flourished among them, while the rest of Europe was still sunk in the gloom of the Dark Ages. The Moors were the most ingenious and industrious of the subjects of Spain. Their expulsion from Spain in 1610 was one of the chief causes of decadence of that country, for both agriculture and industry fell into decay after their departure. All right, so now, we fell in 1492, Islam, and Ivan Van Sertima in his book, They Came Before Columbus, in the intro, he states that in Columbus's logs, he marked the territory. And give me 1 second, I want to find it right here. He marked in his and if anybody's got it, it's in They Came Before Columbus. This on like page 7, and it says where he references the discoveries. He's talking about the discoveries, and he says Columbus had drafted agreements with the Spanish sovereigns before setting out, making him a partner with the crown in his prospective discoveries. These agreements, and it's in parentheses, referred to in his diaries as the capitulation. Now, those more you all that's familiar with history, you get the fall of Granada, and this is what we're never taught over here, Islam, in this Western academia, right? They never talk about how our ancestors had to re-civilize Europe, Islam. So Columbus, they thought that the world was flat at that time, but the Spaniards at that time, because again, it wasn't Spain, it was Al-Andalus, Andalusia, the Iberian Peninsula, Islam. So those that studied under the Moors through all the universities we established, they realized that what we already knew, but we didn't allow them to come over here. So when the Moors failed, that last stronghold in Granada, the fall of Granada, so when you look that up, you're going to get a lot of information, right? But just punch up the capitulation of Granada and see what you're going to get. You're going to get something different, because capitulation is That's like one army or one power surrendering to another. And the significance of that is, once we fell in Spain, not only did we have to cede territory to them, because remember, this what brought about the Inquisitions. And this America got everything to do with this. We already on this side. We already been doing trade and commerce with the Moors in the East. They demonstrating with the Moors, the native Moors over here, Islam, but we didn't allow nobody else to come over. When they failed through all the infighting, the various dynasties or whatever, the Christians got they numbers up, and when they pushed the Moors out, when they ceded, you look up the capitulation of Granada as opposed to the fall of Granada. And what you're going to find is, and this is even on the Encyclopedia of Islam, you can do a Google search, punch up Encyclopedia of Islam, Fall of Granada. Just punch up Fall of Granada and you'll see under Google search, read what's under the Encyclopedia of Islam. At the very end of it, it's a beautiful measure that they give a lot of history and everything, the politics, but at the very end of it, it talks about how so many Moors left and they came to America. You're not going to find this anywhere else. Because, see, they never try to make it seem like we came over here on our own volition. Islam, we came in droves to America because this was just the other side. Islam. So I'm saying all that to say what Rome had to do and why the prophet did what he did. The capitulation, which Columbus has noted his diary, that's letting them know that the so-called discoveries were not, in fact, discoveries. They knew this was our territory before, but because we failed, that was part of the agreement. When the Moors capitulated in 1492, we allowed them to come over here. Thus, Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492. Islam, it ain't the way they told it. The truth of it is you got to look up the capitulation, and it's in his diaries. They found out, they knew about the territory, but we did not allow them to come over here. So again, to get back why the prophet did what he did, he goes to Havana, Cuba in 1928, Islam. And when he goes to Havana, Cuba, you got to remember the significance of Cuba, Islam. That's one of the, what they call, Hispaniola, whatever, when they came to those territories. Columbus noted what he saw there, the Asiatics that he saw there. He said he saw mosques and everything, Islam. So when the prophet went to Cuba in 1928 and demonstrated on behalf of the Moorish Americans, everybody knew what the prophet was doing. Everybody knew we was always over here. Islam. So again, that's why it prompted the Roman Catholic Church. They said, oh, we got to go back and set up a central seat of government. We got to go back to Rome. So that's why they established the Holy See. But when you look at the temple and understand again, think of it in that context of us being indigenous to here, and that's solidified by chapter 47. Islam. But what we want to kind of not so much move the conversation to, but what we're going to get to is why this census is so important, why what the Sheik was demonstrating previously, representing Washita. When you look up the code for Moor under American Indian, it doesn't say Washita Moor, it doesn't say Yamasee Moor, it doesn't say Delaware Moor, it doesn't say Lenape Moor, it doesn't say Ramapo Moor. All these groups that we know are Moors who identify themselves as Moors, it doesn't say that. It just says Moor. So again, all praise due to Allah for sending us our prophet. The prophet, just to camel back on what the Sheik already demonstrated, we got to really have understand what the prophet did for us. When you come into the temple and proclaim your nationality, you linking yourself back with that heritage, no matter what tribal family you come from, because the European gonna put you through hoops. This is what he does. You gotta go to him after he done marked all our ancestors. And then gave us a misnomer of Indian. Then he says, now you got to prove to me you're an Indian. You got to prove to me that you done live like an Indian. You got to prove to me that I counted one of your ancestors as an Indian just to make a link. And if you can't do that, we ain't going to recognize you. So that's why those that want to go under that banner of Indian, they have to seek recognition. Whereas the prophet says, with us, all members must proclaim. So that's an active measure versus a passive measure. When the prophet says all the Moors are active and not passive. He understood what the European was doing to our brethren that's trying to seek recognition as Indians. He telling you after he done marked us, stripped you of your nationality, now you got to come back to him and say, I need you to recognize me because I've been here. You got to come with all these documents and everything, when all we got to do is go into the temple and proclaim our nationality. You done got your heritage back. You done got your birthright back. Islam. So we got to have profound appreciation for what the prophet did. And establishing the temple the way he did it, because Moors, we the only ones that don't know this. Everybody else knows this. They track the prophet movement. They saw what he did. Islam. So that's the significance of why we got to be classified and identify ourselves properly when they use their very senses to mark our people. Islam. But now we have to right the wrong. We must proclaim. So just look at the temple in that aspect when we talking about nation state. But as the Sheik demonstrated, look up body politic, understand what it means. You see what the prophet did, but because we don't see what he had put in place in operation amongst the Moorish Temple of America Day, look at what the Catholic Church did. And I hate to use that example, but that's the reality. Islam. So I yield the floor.
Islam. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Who's that, our brother Douglas Hill?
Yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know I put that definition, a couple definitions for body politic up on the screen share.
Oh, that was you, bro? Oh, praise the Lord. Thank you. Oh, gratitude.
Peace and love. Yeah.
Peace and love. I think I might have that, but yeah, that definitely is a help. So you brothers, if you got the video to this, you can look and see it for yourself on Facebook, the body politic. And don't forget, definitely go to YouTube, put it in. I did that like a year or two ago. I was at one of my, I was substitute teacher, and it was one of those, I think it was towards the end of the school year for the particular high school I was at, and they had downtime with the seniors. So it's always good when you teaching the seniors. So when they at the end of the year, they usually worry about graduating. They ain't even, it ain't much you got to do. Everything's laid out, So I was able to have some downtime. I looked up body politic, and I saw all these different tutorials about it, and there's an actual study dealing with body politics and law, international law. And this is some stuff that a lot of the Moors outside the temple are just now really talking about. They're just now talking about it. But they're misinterpreting the idea. They're still talking about council court, all these type of things. Which I just talked to one brother today, and the idea of the council court actually started with this brother named Nakeem Bey, who's now the head of he's the head of the Clock of Destiny. And he has all the he has copyrights over all the CM Bey's works. So and he put in a new Library of Congress registration, copyright registration for all of it. So for those who are using the AA 44, the AA 22141 number, that number is no longer in use. That's a little side note. Islam, any other questions or concerns?
Islam, Sheik.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Could I just add this little side note as well? Because me and Spring Grand Sheik, was it Dandridge, we were just discussing this, and again, for clarity, I wanted to just add this in. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Home office again for all the prophets' charters. Where just to be clear on how Temple One being home office and why the prophet on all his charters, he said, thousand parts. I'll have it in front of me right now. Need a copy of the chart. I just wanted to read that first caption on it. Mm-hmm. Bear with me, Mo. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Islam, or yes, sir. Comes to read Home Office. What it basically what it entails. Just again, third edition, Black's Law. This doesn't apply to us, so I'm reading the whole definition. The Department of State through which the English sovereign administers most of the internal affairs of the kingdom, especially the police, and communicates with the judicial functionaries. Now here it is. This is what applies to us. As applied to a corporation, its principal office within the state or country where it was incorporated or formed. So this is why all of the prophets' charters would originate referencing home office, Islam, because that's where the affidavit of organization, the venue where it was recorded. Islam, it was incorporated in Cook County, Illinois. So just saying that to say, when we're talking about the Holy See, they had to go back to Rome to establish a central seat of government. Even though they had various archdioceses in various territories, the temple, everything would have to originate because that's where the affidavit was filed. That's all, just giving the, the basis, that central seat of government. But I want to, this what me and Sheik Dangerjil were demonstrating. Again, for clarity's sake, we have to look at when we say a body politic being the collective body of a nation or state as politically organized or as exercising political functions. That's our movement. That's our religious freedom. That's why the movement is the Moorish divine and national movement. You can't do one without the other. Islam. So Section 3 of Article 4 of the Constitution of the U.S.A. Islam, United States of America. Section 3 states, new states may be admitted by the Congress into this union, but no new state shall be formed or erected within the jurisdiction of any other state, nor any state be formed by the junction of two or more states or parts of states without the consent of the legislatures of the states concerned as well as of the Congress. So when we say nation state, we have to look at, again, at the context of as our brethren that are recognized as, like say, let's say the Lakota Nation, the Sioux Nation, the Cherokee Nation, not in North, but any indigenous group, any indigenous nation who has got recognition from the said government to have their own jurisdiction. Moors use the term sovereignty, but you're not really sovereign when like say you ain't got your own military and you can't do what you really want to do. That's how we know ain't but one sovereign. That's the universal creator Allah, Islam. So they're not sovereign in that context. It's autonomy, what they possess. The right to self-government. That's what we have. So we just want to be clear on what the Prophet established, and this is why he states several, Act 5, Act 4, Act 6, while we're part and parcel of the government. And that's been a big issue because the original wording, from my understanding, just demonstrating with, certain elders, DBL included, part and parcel. And as the elder we used to demonstrate, he said, yeah, Mo, well, they didn't have, wasn't no computers. It was just done off dictation. So the prophet dictating these things, the sisters, secretaries, they writing it down. So you got part and parcel, which as a phrase means an essential and inseparable part, which is more fitting than part and partial. Because a part is partial. Islam, partial is just the adjective of part. Islam, but part and parcel as a phrase means an inseparable and essential part. Islam, so just saying that to say we will never move totally independent of the said government, Islam, but we have the autonomy to demonstrate with other nations because we are in fact a nation ourselves. Islam, if I'm not, trying to give clarity to the situation. So this is what me and the Sheik would demonstrate. No, Sheik, not in the sense of a whole nother state. No, not that. Because, again, the Prophet says in Acts 5, this organization of the Moorish Central America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Islam, but we are nation state in that context, how other native peoples have to move. Islam, but remembering at the same time, we are in a fallen state. Islam, so I just want to add that in. I yield the floor.
Islam, I would camel back and actually say that given the understanding of a nation state and the context of what we're saying, a body politic in the state, you have to look at what a state is, or nation state. And usually, when in this context of what they say in nation state, is that body, is that governing body is considered the state. Okay, and of course those who have their allegiance to the state. Okay? So it doesn't necessarily have to be a state, as you could say within New Jersey, Illinois, and so forth and so on. But it is it's that central governing body that is the state, and therefore our allegiance to the state. What makes us a nation state? A state within a nation within a nation. So it's not necessary, for those who clarity that we're not necessarily, we're gonna put our own, we got our own DMV and our own, state capitol building and all that stuff like that. With, we're gonna put our own, stuff like that. But in a sense, we have a central governing body. So, in that definition, in the basic definition, that's what it is. Like the PLO is a state, and it represents the people. It's a governing body that represents the people of Palestine. The same thing here. Moorish Americans. What's the governing body state for Moorish America? It's the Moorish Scientific America, Moorish Divine National Movement. That's what it is. Islam. So, any further questions or concerns? So we just building, we are definitely past the 2 hour mark. 2 hours and a half, actually. Long. My man, Brother A Smith Bey, you want to continue or you want to? It's up to you because we can probably hold this off for a second meeting if you want.
Hey, Sam, all is well. However you want to do it, Sheik.
Okay. I know we touched on a little bit about the lineage. Any questions about what we're talking about, the lineage or anything? If you want, we can go back. Whatever you want to. If anybody has any questions, I want to chime in real quick, and I want to give honors to Brother Douglas. I know he had to leave. He's about to start his meeting, but he actually pushed through to get our flyers done. I had some problems with my Cash App card, and I tried to, I had an actual debit card for the Cash App, and it wouldn't go through. So I'm in basically let's try to reach out to their support desk or whatever. Just waiting for a call back. Why? But needless to say, I had called Douglas yesterday, and I forwarded the money to him through Cash App to order our flyers. So our flyers should be coming soon, inshallah. So praise a lot for the brother. Any questions? I'm sorry, I just wanted to plug that in.
Islam. Can y'all hear me?
Islam, we can hear you.
So back to Brother Walton L, right? So they don't know his cause of passing form. Did he was he killed, or did he die of a disease, or what happened to him? Islam.
Well, Islam. I don't know if that's even. We don't even know whether. I think the main factor we want to focus on when it comes to Walton L is him transitioning the power, or the power of that seat, transitioning over to Harlem Bay. whether he succumbed to any illness or he passed form, how he passed form. Now, we don't know if that's even a factor. I think the main focus we should focus on or trying to aim at is how did the leadership get passed from him to Harlem Bay within like a year span. So I think that'd be the main focus.
Yeah, because he was in there only for 1 year. That's he was the Grand Sheik or the Supreme Grand Sheik, right? For one for 1 year.
Yeah, he was the chairman, the Grand Sheik of Temple One. He was the Grand Sheik of Temple One. That's why we had to clarify the Supreme Grand Sheik portion or the understanding because that title was not in function at the time of Brother J. Walton L., Brother Harlem Bay, Brother O. Lewis L., Brother D. Bailey L. Because it was not there was only Temple One. The Moorish Temple of America only had one temple at the top. Let me put it in the right narrative for you. The Moorish Temple of America, as set up by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, only had one temple at the top, and that was Temple One in Chicago. Which Walton L. was the head, was the Grand Sheik of at the top. That was it. Give it narrative.
Let me interject. Can I interject on that more?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, they still existed, Mo. It was what the problem was, the confusion. See, that's what I'm saying. That's what we have to remember. He was only reorganizing Temple Number One because Temple Number One had been fractured. Not to say that the other temples weren't dealing with their internal, chaos that they had to deal with, but no, there were the original temples that the Prophet established, the 19 temples, because me and DBLEL discussed this where the elder had a lot of the archives, but when you read the Prophet's literature, the Prophet says we have branched temples in 15 different states. He didn't say we had 15 branched temples. He said we have branched temples in 15 different states. So if you count 15 different states, you would have to have more than 15 temples because there were already 2 for sure in Chicago alone, 1 in 9. There were 2 in Michigan alone at the time, 4 and 15. There were a couple in Ohio at the time. Islam, Temple 7, Temple 12. Islam. So when we said it was only 15 temples, and I'm not saying that's what you're saying, Mo, I just want for clarity, I just want to interject on that. No, it was the structure of the prophet, the structure of the temple that the prophet set up was still in function. Temple Number One was in disarray at the time of J. Walton Hill. He had to reorganize Temple Number One. All of the other temples were still functioning. Islam. So I just want to interject that. I give the floor.
Islam, 1,000 pardons to the Moors. Brother A. Smith Bey is right. I do. I'll take fault on that. Basically, understanding the way Brother A. Smith Bey put it is much clearer now. Definitely, you will see that, and I think what it is it is a confusion on the part of trying to understand what was going on at the time. But there were multiple temples at the time. And it was just, like you said, when we were talking about the Roman demonstration and how they had to establish the Holy See back in Rome. And that's what, basically was going on more side Central America. As A. Smith Bey put it, that we had, or what J. Walton Hill had to restructure Temple One because that was home office. And that was basically the part about it, where where basically the structure will flow out of, as far as the governmental part. So this establishing Temple One. Now we could say throughout the years, the temples probably spread apart. Basically discontinued as far as their connection to Temple One and whatever the body or whatever You can say that because it still comes to a kind of a foggy understanding. Hey, don't put that there. Put it on top of it. Don't put it in the trash. Pardon about it. So the and change your shirt when you go back in your room. So when we speak of the the structure or just the governmental part, the head has to be temple one. And like you said, the head is not right. You know what I'm saying? The body's in disarray. So what happened was, what could be said is that throughout the years, possibly things just became very lackadaisical as far as the structure is concerned, and temples probably ceased to either function or they went their own way or joined up with different bodies in order to stay afloat. You know what I'm saying? Because I can tell you right now, I got, and not to laugh, but when I told you about the ledger, I looked at what when I got a chance to look at the ledger, when it got to Bailey Hill, when Bailey Hill was on the head, man, they barely had $100. They were barely reckoning $100. You know, so things, a lot of things are key because there's one thing I remember I was told, and I wish I could get the letter. There was a letter, I think it was to Blakely. I think it was from Blakely Day to Emilio. And I think it was explaining that how, because this is during the Depression now. Remember, this is during the Depression, the Great Depression has set in. And he was just saying, in order to really keep afloat as far as financially and keep things coming in as far as, providing, they were going to have to go with Curtin Bay. So that's where the one thing is the confusion, not confusion, but a lot of people don't know that Curtin Bay, they actually ceased control of the manufacturing company. Because that was a prophet's cash cow right there, was a manufacturing company. And once Curtin Bay and the party actually ceased control of that, I find, what I'm saying, that was almost like I got control of the bank account, I got control of the flow, cash flow, who coming with me? And that's what pretty much happened, what many of them went. But they were temples still functioning, still in connection. Because remember, like a few years prior, they did have a convention. There were conventions, and there was other temples in attendance. But, sooner or later, money started coming in, and so forth and so on. People either jump ship or they cease to operate. And then we're talking about afterwards, after Walton Hill, and possibly even Harlem Bay as well. Maybe during Old Louis L time. We gotta find out when. Actually, I got the. Actually, hold on. That's as far as was. Let me see if I can find that demonstration. Jay Walton, not Jay Walton now, but I can find that when the more man Old Louis L. Old Louis L was able to come into play. I mean, if I can find the actual obituary, if I can find that obituary. Find that obituary. I don't know if I have an initial. A whole bunch of all these. if I can find it real quick, look at it and maybe find out when in the obituary did old Lewis L come in. He was Grand Sheik at some point. This one. It might be in my other folder. No, bullet. Yeah, Chicago. A whole bunch of stuff. Wait a minute, hold on. I know exactly what I did with them. That's why I'm part. Hold on. I actually had it. And particular demonstration would be in this folder and not necessarily this folder. What is my other red folder? It would definitely be in that other red folder. Another red folder. This one. That's not it. I had a whole other red folder. Boom, here it is. Let me see what it says. Okay, no. All right. Oh yeah, this is the folder because I remember I was cleaning up and I threw a lot of stuff in. Got the job descriptions and Premier Council. Yeah, I was trying to look for that obituary. And I know Billy will probably wrote it. Look like his handwriting. Yeah. But just significantly, it just tells you when he came into the movement. Lewis, all right, grab. Oh yeah, I got some. I think I passed it. Hold on, Moorish. I got a 6th annual convention. This was Emilia, Sister H. Wright Bey, A. Morgan L. and Morris. When they're all together, J. Walton L., A. Jackson Bey, J. Spear Bey. Yeah. It's a flyer though. A couple other stuff, man. I might shoot some of this stuff to you, Smith Bey. I get a chance. It's a doozy.
It's not.
I got the I think part of the court case when Billy Hill and Brownsville Bay went to court. I know you heard about that, right?
No, sir. I'm not familiar with that one.
Okay. All right. I found it. Here we go. When he passed for him? It appears he passed for him in October 5th, 1968. They're saying Brother Lewis L. was born in 1889. George Lewis. We got Lavina. And can't even pronounce it. This is Billy Hill handwriting. Elementary school was received. Okay, it says Brother O. Lewis L. became a member of the Moorish Science of America. Number one, at the age 42 in 1931. Okay, so he became part of the temple after the Prophet passed. Okay, so he joined Temple One during the tumultuous years. Okay, he was a loyal, devoted Muslim. After a few years, he was assistant chairman, and later on, he became chairman through the years until his work was finished upon the plane. Things made manifest. Yeah, he must have did this on the fly. This is some of the things we got to improve when it comes to us documenting things, making things better in the more in this movement. Yeah, I could tell he did this on the. I know this is Bailey L's handwriting. He did this on the fly, and he put this together. So he probably just did this to read it. So I don't know. So this might be something he wrote down. I don't know if there's an actual obituary, but this is basically, him reading it, as far as, Odu himself is concerned. He said, I could know he joined in 1931. So you already a member. He probably was part of that 21 that came back, or that was in attendance. Part about it in that meeting that they had with Jay Walton. But it doesn't say actually when he assumed or what year exactly he assumed leadership of Temple One. But it just goes on. The only dates they give after that is September 5th, 1968 is where he passed when he was hospitalized. And then he passed the 30th, September 30th.
June 1944, he was supposed to have been made a Supreme Grand Sheik. Not saying he was, I'm just saying, just letting you know.
Well, but it says here, and remember, he wasn't Supreme, there was no Supreme Grand Sheik. So we got to make sure that we keep that in mind. That title was only given when there was a Supreme Grand Council. Supreme Grand Council wasn't in function at the time. Okay, so he was the chairman. He was the head. He was the head chairman. He was the head Temple One at the time. But he so he said 44. So he held it down for like 20-some years. You said June. What was the date? McCoy Bay. Long.
June 1944 when he was had leadership, right?
Okay.
Say June 1944.
44.
That's from the Braswell Bay and Limes. That's where I got that from.
That's fine. Because Braswell Bay, he got it from Bailey. So, they worked on that lineage together. So what I would say is, he was in leadership for 24 years.
Islam, more.
Islam.
Yeah, I want to ask Brother McCoy Bay, so what was the span of time that Walton Hill was in leadership and then Harlan Bay was in leadership before old Lewis Hill got it, if he got it in 44? And so if we know if Walton Hill, they did what they did in 35, Islam. So from 35 to 44. So how many years then? So that must not be accurate. Well, Walter Neal was only in there for a year then. Him and Harlan Bey. Islam?
Yeah, they must have been there longer than that.
Islam.
And was it Harlan Bey was in there for 9 years? I think it's saying from 1936 to 1944. August 1936 to June 1944, according to Braswell Bay's leadership lineage or whatever.
Islam. So they're saying that Walter Neal Wright was only Grand Sheik for that 1 year then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Given the efforts that he put forward. Islam?
No, yeah. But like I said, like I was told, and I'm not trying to throw shade on anyone or whatever, but when I'll just say this: when any woman, loses her husband, she's dear to, she's going to be very particular on who she follows or whatever. So I must put that out there, alluding to them saying. And Sister Amelia came back into the fold, she possibly began to shift things around, knowing that she's the wife of the only appointed, by the prophet, Supreme Grand Sheik. You know what I'm saying? So she probably definitely tried to pull that card, Islam. And probably, I'm just guesstimating what could have happened. And, Walton L sent Walton L down or whatever and use Harlem Bay. So who knows? Like I said earlier in this call, is all you want to see strange things happen, folly happen, all different type of things occurring, man. So, but it doesn't mean that Allah is not moving. Islam. So, we don't know. For that fact. But we still got to clarify the dates, you know what I'm saying? But we don't have appointment letters on hand, whether they were there or not. So we don't have them on hand. And then also Braswell Bay has that hot box. Okay? He has a hot box. And I'm not saying anything prior to or anything, spiteful, but what I'm trying to say is this. He has the hot box, Islam, but a lot of those letters that are in the hot box are still not open yet. No. They open a letter a year. You know what I mean? So, I remember Mo that was over there before he left there, he said, he used to suggest and kind of like, yo, why don't we just open the letters and just read them so we get a clarity of what's going on, what happened? Why we just opening one letter a year? What's the point of that? That's what he said, and that made a lot of sense. Islam, I hear the floor. You got something to say? Islam?
Islam, Sheik. Yeah, 1,000%. I was just wanting to mention that I know DBL not long ago, maybe a few months back, we were discussing that where he was mentioning, he just, in general, we were just speaking after service about his grandmother and mother, and he kind of what you had alluded to, what you demonstrated that. I guess, again, after the passing of Emily Ill and whatever relationship there was with the brother Moorish Ill, the elder said himself to us that his grandmother, she didn't want to recognize nobody else as the Supreme Grand Sheik, which I found very interesting. And that's, again, like you said, given the evidence that we have from what J. Walton Ill filed, he had served her by registered mail as well. So again, we don't know if she was at the meeting, but she definitely was aware of, you know, what had transpired. So again, right, not to castigate anyone or throw, you know, any aspersions on anybody's character, anything like that. But at the same time, we just going off, you know, what we have, the information we do have. And by him having to, you know, serve Sister Millie Ill as well as Shelby Ill, Kirkman Bey, Givens Ill, all by registered mail. And like he said, a host of other sheiks who were members of Temple Number One. When you look at that lineage, right, it's like, okay, well, if the way, and again, we know how, like you said, other people have put these lineages together. The fact of the matter is, Temple Number One never went without a grand sheik. It was just a matter of J. Walter Ill restructuring it because Morris Ill was the assistant grand sheik after Millie Ill, so it would only make sense that he would become the grand sheik Islam after Millie Ill. But if you just want to count that title and say he was the supreme grand sheik, but then certain people don't want to acknowledge another supreme grand sheik until P. Davis Ill, that's out of order, because the fact of the matter is they would still be grand sheiks now, you know, however they want to go with that title. That's why I say we can't get just hung up on titles. Islam, because the elder said himself that that's what his grandmother did. She didn't want to acknowledge nobody as supreme grand sheik after Millie Ill. Islam. So I just want to, you know, add that in. Islam.
You know, yeah, and that, yeah, definitely. You see that, like I said, that's why I said what I said, alluding to that, because you have to understand, you know, the heart of a woman, and you know, her love and dedication to her husband, and you know, whatever. And we know that, you know, there had to be some foul play in the death of Emilia. I stand on that. You know, ain't no way he just all of a sudden fell ill. You know, especially doing all these, he's whooping everybody in court. you know, he whooping up on everybody in court. You know, they had to probably try to take him out. So, you know, that to say, you know, she felt some type of way, probably. You know, and that, you know, and I'm just, like I said, I'm exercising, you know, my senses and really coming to the conclusion that, you know, she wasn't feeling Jay Walton and what he was doing. She probably felt that he was trying to take control of everything. You know, and that's not saying anything wrong about her, but you know, like I said, you know, your love and dedication to your husband, you know, and you know, you had to witness your husband being undermined by people that sat next to him in you know, years. You know, who you gonna trust? You won't trust nobody. Trust issues is definitely gonna be a situation with trust. You know, so you know, and that, you know, and you know, and that, you know, that definitely is a possible fact. You know, and like I said, I went to college for film and creative writing and all that stuff, man. And I know how to put a story together. I see a couple of elements. I'm like, yeah, I can see how that character unfolded. You know what I mean? So praise Allah for Sister Millie Ill and her heart and her love for her husband and whatnot. You know, we understand. We understand. We understand. You know, we're not saying it was right or whatever, but we understand. We understand. You know, feel like something went wrong with your husband. You don't know. You know, we talk. Think about it. Think about it. Like she probably sat next to Kirkland Bey, sat next to Aaron Payne. You know, Foreman Day, Carl Anderson. You know what I'm saying? Carl Green. I'm sorry, Carl Green and all these different Moors. You know, and she probably sat next to him. Broke bread with them, Islam, the brothers. Her demonstrated beautiful measure. And then next thing you know, they taking her your husband to court. That's crazy. And they just take him to court. We're talking about death threats following her. I mean, it gets really gutter. This movement gets really gutter. And I think that's one thing that a lot of elders don't want to talk about is that what really transpired was really some stuff. That's what Moore's talking about unity and, we need to unify more. No, all this, what's, whatever. And I told more straight up. I said, man, look, we are unified. If I ain't throwing no Molotov cocktail at your window or stuffing you inside of a trunk right now, then we unified. Because that's what happened with the elders back in the day. It was doing the most. So, we unified, as we should be, at this point, praise Allah. We could be doing the most right now. Really making it real bad. It was looking bad. Like there's articles, you know, it was really catching on. You know what I'm saying? Globally, because Moorish Science of America, wasn't just a demonstration that just existed, within the bounds of the United States of America or within the states that existed. They would get catching news on in Canada. They would catch news on in Great Britain or what the Moors was doing. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that brother A Smith Bey shared with me. So there was articles about the turmoil fights that was going on in Chicago with the Moors. So what we got going here? We wanna about almost 6:30 now.
It's long.
It's not good, Mo.
I just wanted to say that I used to get into it with a brother, right, about E. Millie L's wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was saying that, you know how some Moors, I know y'all probably hear some Moors saying that there's no more, that E. Millie L's wife ended the Supreme Grand Sheik thing. There's no more Supreme Grand Sheik.
Mm-hmm.
They said she did it, but I used to tell a brother, like, she's not the prophet. Like, you trying to, this brother trying to hold her up like she's, as powerful as the prophet, when the prophet meant for us to have a Supreme Grand Sheik.
Yeah.
And that, me and this brother used to get into it about that. But one thing we do know is that we're supposed to have a Supreme Grand Sheik.
Yeah.
Islam. Islam, boy. Yes, sir. I've heard that as well. And again, these are issues, discussions that we've had with the elder. And you're right, because the sister, she still didn't have the authority to do away with that position. Islam, whether her emotions, she wasn't in the capacity with respect to, being an official in the temple to do away with that title, Islam. So, like I said, we just have to look at the structure of what the prophet left, Islam. And like I said, just give honors to those Moors for, doing their best and trying to keep it moving forward. But I've heard that as well, Moab. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and just to come back on what you're saying, Mo, remember you have to, that's why reading her revised statute is key. Because there's nothing really, because what they're going to try to allude to, Mo, is that the organization shutting down and the doors are closed. Is what they're going to try to allude to. But see, that's people who don't know. They got a finite mind. They got a finite a way of thinking. You know what I'm saying? Because the truth be told is that, and I'm gonna put it this way, man. If we were to walk away and not have another convention for the next 10 years, and then all of a sudden in 2031 we end up having a convention, that has no effect on the standing of the organization or legally. We still will be recognized as more size of America. You understand?
Islam.
It doesn't matter what, in all honesty to the sister, elder sister, Sister Amelia, and to the family. But, they were, we call the gatekeepers. You know, they had to keep the gates open. They had to watch the gates. You know, and but at the same time, they don't have no sovereign control over the organization as a whole. You know, that's not their position, and that they don't have authority to do that. Their authority, is to pass it on, keep it on, keep it open, so we can come in and take it to another level. You know, so Sister Amelia, despite how she felt, about moving on with her husband and stuff like that, she probably, honor her, but yeah, that I heard that before too, Mo. I had a long discussion with a brother when I came home from my first convention, and I had reached out, and I was, I come home from a convention, I was gun ho, about the grand body, and email the year, I'm with the grand body, I'm with the lineage, and two lineage, and we gonna do, because we had Temple 2 in Philly. We're gonna start Temple 2 up, man. We're gonna go on 5, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? I had nothing but time on my hand. I had just lost my job. I just came home here. But I was trying to, I was trying to self-medicate to the prophet. So I was going through a lot, but I was like, yeah. And I had this whole demonstration with this brother from California, man. He's breaking down here because he did he did a lot of research on the movement. He talked to Bailey Hill and a lot of stuff. He came to the conclusion that the me and Sister Amelia and shut it down and all that stuff like that. And then when I started reading hers by statute, I started using my this reason, my right reason of mine, and began to shift, using my natural senses, exercising my five senses to understand what's going on. I realized that story is folly. It's folly. No matter what actually took place, you can't shut it down. She had no authority. She could take all the charges. And like I said, I'm not trying to throw shade on her character. I'm just using her as an example. Anybody. People say, oh, Aaron Payne ran out the door with the original charter and all that stuff like that. Okay. That's a paper, man. That's paper. And the power is not in the paper. It's in the organization, in the people. And say, yeah, that shows the evidence. But like I told one of them, Mo, I said, the charter that you get now, if you came into this grand body and you were to get a charter for a temple, to start a temple, you know what I'm saying? Or a warrant authority starts up. Or if you get a charter after you organize as a Muslim mission, you did your 3 years, you got your people up, and you've been doing good, and then you go petition the Supreme the grand body at the convention to get your charter, and you get your charter. That charter does not look nothing like what the charter that the prophet had. It is a little more elaborate. The letters are a little more fancy. Brother Malik El, the one I pointed to on the bottom of that list earlier in this conversation, he's the one who redesigned it, designed the template for the chart. Okay, but guess what? Guess what? He can do that. We can do that. See, the thing is, we get into spookism, and we think that we got to keep every single thing, shape, nook and cranny, the same in order for it to be legit. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to. Things can change, things can alter, and it doesn't take away its power or the force that it comes from. Islam. Long as we coming from the original members being D. Hill's family and those in company. I left the doors open. We came into that particular, after the riffraff and all that stuff happened, Razzle Bay and then, Dawi Aliyah or whatever. We're still coming into the same thing that J. Waltnell restructured, that Amelia was head of, and the Prophet, Noble Ali, founder. We're in the same thing. You know what I mean? So, you know, whether the charter don't look exactly like what the prophet made, that's fine. But it wields the same authority because we can connect ourselves back. So if we're looking for validation from Rome, Rome is going to look for a few things. It's going to look at, do we have, are we, so and so? Do we have proof that we are, followers lineage or who we name? That's why when we put the affidavit every year of changing officers on the Supreme Grand Sheet, Supreme Grand Council, we always put lineage. Put the lineage, connecting us to Prophet Noble Ali or to Emilia via Emilia. So it's done every convention if there's a change. If there's no change, it's none. So it's really no need to do it in the first place. But we do it anyway just for clarity on the record because so many people, are trying to connect and suit, and suit themselves up or push themselves above the prophet or make themselves, the original successors or custodians of the movement. I remember one time, I don't know how many of y'all, y'all into the DVDs, the lecture DVDs came out of, New York, House of Constance, all those, different venues that provided lectures. I remember one time, I don't know what lecture it was with Phil Valentine. I think it was Book of the Earth 2 or another one. Can't quite, I think it was the Cosmic Olmec Calendar or something like that. I think it was that one or something. He had said something about somebody he knew who was in Chicago who actually had the original authority of the Moorish Science Civil War. Some joker. I don't mean to call him a joker, but some elder, man. And I actually think I found him on Facebook and I looked at what he was professing. And I was like, man, this stuff ain't that. A whole bunch of jargon on here. He ain't got no ties to the Moorish Science Civil America. And I love Dr. Phil Valentine. That elder actually, woke me up with a lot of his information. But, sometimes he can go, a little too left, a little bit, what I'm saying? So, and he even, is leaving that whole, and he actually joined it. I thought he joined one of those temples in New York back in the day. So he actually has, he actually has ties to the temple, what I'm saying? I think he came through. There was another Moor. There was another Moor that left the grand body and set up in New York. I forgot his name. I'll find out through Brother Denimel. I'll ask him when I get a chance. It's let's Mo, is right. I think I'm a close the meeting now. Is that all right for the Moors? It's getting past the time. I know some of y'all came on here just now. Is there any last questions before I close the meeting? I don't want to leave it too long.
Islam Sheik,
Islam.
will you be making the recording available?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So I'll post it up, and hopefully you guys will be able to read the audio. Sheik Smith Bey, you think we can do this next week or Islam?
Islam. Yes, sir.
All right, praise Allah. We'll try to convene next week, inshallah. Let me go ahead and things. Yeah. If there's no any other questions, concerns, any announcements? For those who just came on, the the flyers are on its way. I'll let you know when I get them. They were ordered yesterday. The reason why they were ordered yesterday and not earlier was because I had problems with my whatchamacallit card, my Cash App card, debit card. Yeah, that I've been struggling trying to get it activated. I don't know what's going on. I'm thinking maybe because I don't have it connected to my actual debit bank account because I don't have one active right now. I just went Santander and handled that business. Hopefully, I'll be able to set one up, and then maybe that'll make it work. But I called on the help of our dear brother Douglas L. from Moors in America, Muslim Mission 30 in Columbus, Ohio, and the brother actually came through. I forwarded him the money that all you brothers sent, and he basically put in the order for us yesterday, and so forth and so on, and we were able to we will be able to have flyers. I think on the 24th, I'm gonna post it up. There's an event. It's called the Black Excellence Expo, but it's in New Jersey. It's in a small town called Lawnside. Okay, and I think brother Smith Bey, that's where the sister stay at, Mo. The sister that was with sister, what's her name? Was with what's her sister's name, man? That was with
Street Hill, sister Logan Street Hill.
Yeah, Logan Street Hill. She's in
Yes,
Lawnside, Mo. Yeah, she's
Yes,
out there. Hopefully I'll run into the sister, man. I'm definitely speak to her if I see her, man, and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? She's definitely a sweet sister, man. She definitely has a good heart, man, and whatnot. She helped us. I remember, and it's crazy, and Allah forgive me because I remember she helped me and my son's mom when we had to get some papers notarized for court. We had our court demonstration. We were trying to do that, right to travel stuff and whatnot, man. That was crazy because we actually presented our license. If anybody know, if you do that demonstration anyway, that's the first thing you don't do. According to their rules, you ain't supposed to do that, but that's what we did. And try to go over there, get all these things notarized and whatnot. And as you get things notarized, it don't mean nothing. Let me let y'all know. We've learned that the hard way. Like getting a notary public is just, just saying that they saw it. They just, duly noted. You know what I'm saying? That don't mean they honor it. That don't mean it's rotation or whatever. You get it notarized. Don't mean they just accept it as an official document for them or whatever. Just, duly noted. They know what it is. Putting them on notice. Oop, they don't, I don't mean it's supposed to turn into anything. And we learned that the hard way. But the Black Expo, there's $25 for a table. And what we're going to do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put $25 out. And I see Brother Finley Bey on here. I want to know, Brother Finley Bey, you think you can, you design banners? Like, what is it? Vinyl banners. I don't know if you got a way to put a print. I know you got a printing thing going on. I don't know if you can hear me, but I'll text you. But we trying to get that situation as far as getting a table. I want to get a table. We better go a couple minutes. I'm supposed to get a table. I want to get a table and let's do our census presentation out there, Islam. So, I don't know if anything else we have going on. I know we're discussing the weather's getting warm. I'll be planning on probably. I've been saying it, but this time we're gonna try to do a cleanup. And possibly more, so maybe we could do like a feed the homeless, along with the cleanup, or maybe, separate it or whatever. But we'll probably try to do a cleanup. I'm gonna try to organize it with the brothers out here, the organization Hotep Incorporated. I'll speak to the person who basically founded it is my cousin. A distant cousin of mine. I'll touch with him and see if he wants to partner up and do a collective cleanup. So I'll try to hit up with him, and then I'll keep y'all posted when we're gonna do it. So if y'all want to slide down and participate, we'll do one in Camden and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And then we'll see, if we're gonna do it anywhere else. Also, we need to start talking about putting our monies together for convention. Okay, I didn't get any notice for what I think the convention is going to be at the Clanton Hotel this year, so it might be a lot cheaper. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about the hotel rates, but we want to lock down the hotel rates if possible. Or lock down the hotel rooms. If not, we could go all tipping for Airbnb. It's up to to y'all. Whatever, we can get 2 rooms, separate rooms, whatever. Enough rooms for everybody. Travel is key. You know what I'm saying? Last time I know me, Solo, and Brother Dre Bay, we caught flights. Me and Solo caught flight together. Dre Bay, he caught a flight separate. Okay. Not everybody can fly, and I think it would really be cool if we actually took a road trip. We go on a road, and we can find out if we can get a bus or a van early and how much it will cost. You know what I'm saying? For us to get it. So look, I know Philly Bay was looking at that, so we'll try to get that done. We have a price range that we can all aim for. And we can ask for donations by doing the census. So some of the donations can go to that too. Get into our convention. So we definitely need to talk about that, and I need to know. You ain't gotta let me know now. You let me know, but soon. How is it looking for you for the convention? Does it look like you're gonna go? Look like you might struggle a little bit. You need a little help, or it looks like you're not going at all. You gotta sit this one out. You feel like you gotta need to sit this one out. Let me know. It's all good. Allow be with you. Remember, we're gonna try to have our Moorish Independence Day this summer. Okay, so we're gonna definitely regardless, you're gonna be around Moors this year. Whether you're at the convention or not. You know what I'm saying? So if anything, also, I'll talk about that later in the year. But just duly noted that every year, it's also known that we try to take people through the chambers. We come at it. Like I said, I don't guarantee that to anyone. All the time. I was fortunate to take help vouch for Brother Dre Bay and Brother Solo for going to the chambers. So, and that, and I hope to do that again this year. I feel like I am going to do that again this year. Just let you know, whatnot, who I'm vouching for. We'll go through the chambers. And just to backtrack, before I end the meeting, once again, the census, we got the flyers coming out. Remember, guys, the census is coming within a couple weeks. Don't worry about the digital, okay? When you get the digital or the instructions to fill it out on computer, don't do that yet. Wait for your hard copy. Wait for your hard copy, which is coming in paper through the mail. We want to fill that out, and we want to make a copy. We want to make a Xerox copy of that particular form. Remember how to fill it out. I'm saying no for I'm sorry. You say make sure you fill it out. You're putting no for black or anything else. We're not filling out black. We're not filling out white. Filling out more. Asiatic, and then we'll put Moorish. And then we'll put out Native American. And we'll put in Moor. So just try to remember that. Okay. Remember, this is key. This is going to be help you in updating or changing your status. Okay, because that will be considered a federal legal document. So moving forward. All right. Islam. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cars at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet will violate the divine covenant or the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the law laid down to them by their prophet. And if they lose confidence in the prophet, give up their card and button, cease wearing their turban or fez, and return to the state where I, prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet, Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is sending out a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting their prophet in the temple. This is the everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace. Noble Drew Ali. To proclaim at every meeting. Islam. I'm glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me in the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claimed that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that pay their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes to the jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Islam, Islam, Islam. I'll close out. Allah bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers, divine creed and principle. This we ask in our holy name and the seven Elohim. Amen.
Islam Sheikh, peace and love.
Islam, Moses. Peace and love. Peace and
Yes,
love.
sir. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Islam, peace and love. Praise Allah.
Praise
Peace and
Allah.
love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. Peace and love.